You have a seaplane?
No, I'm just a regular car, I'm not a seaplane qualified.
You prefer not to go in the water?
Yeah, if I have to, I will. I noticed the paper today, there are now more licensed drone operators than there are licensed pilots.
Yeah, I saw that. Huge number. Huge number.
Oh, yeah. You can do a lot better processes than you can with the work.
Well, first when you get down on the
Yeah.
they have something else. Are the blueberries on schedule, are they again?
Blueberry double brush.
Good. Yeah. So they don't know either. Oh, looks like we're,
This is strawberries.
yeah. Well, that's coming up. Man, harvest time is coming up pretty soon.
We've got about 30%. And then they get like 5
Too bad. Relax.
Yeah. That's so bad.
I'm glad it dropped in 3.
Pulling wires now.
It's always something.
It is. I reckon. Everybody.
Everybody is.
So you have a, you trade the other boat in for a jet boat? One of those jet boat rides like they do at the, like at John's Pass over there? They all gonna wear little armbands. Oh,
She's ready to watch for like.
is she ready now? Okay. All set? Okay. Came up to see what was happening, I guess.
It's the whole way around, doesn't it?
Yeah. Goes in the elevator, goes up, and comes back down.
Secret entrance.
Okay, we're about ready here.
Those things drive.
Finally.
My wife drives.
Okay, we're on the air. Let's call this meeting of the February 9th, 2016 Planning and Zoning Commission of Ocoee to order. First order of business is a stand up and a silent prayer, if you like, for the men and women in service around the country in uniform. And then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. As I said earlier, please turn off the phones, and if you wish to speak, you have to fill out one of these service cards and bring it up to the clerk, and she'll pass along, and we'll get you in order of first come, first serve. Are we ready for the roll call?
Yes, Chairman McKee,
Here.
Vice Chair Marcotte,
Here.
Member West,
Here.
Member Sills,
Here.
Member Dillard,
Here.
Member Briggs is absent tonight, Member Keithler.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We're set to go. Consent agenda is the minutes. A is the minutes of Planning Zoning Meeting December 8th. I assume the board members have read those. And
Make a motion to approve.
we have a motion to
Second.
approve. 2 seconds, whichever one she likes.
That was the first.
Is the first second? Okay, I got it. Who's on first? Any discussion, December 8 minutes? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor accepting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone not in favor, say no. Hearing none, works unanimous, members here. B, minutes of the Planning Zoning Commission meeting January 12th, 2016. Same, anyone have any discussion of those minutes? Not like to hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the meeting of January 12th.
Okay, have a motion? Do I hear a second? Okay, we got a second and a motion. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, let's call the question. All those in favor of the minutes of January 12th as is, say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, who seconded? Who was the seconder?
I think Mr. Sells. Anyone opposed, say no. Hearing none, unanimous of those present. Okay, moving on to the Ocoee Landings PUD final site approval. So we just vote on this as it is? Okay. The item is the Ocoee Landings PUD final site approval. Any discussion from members? If not, I'd like to hear a motion to accept it as they are. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve. Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the final subdivision plan for Ocoee Landings PUD, subject to the resolution of the remaining staff comments before the City Commission meeting.
Second.
Okay. Seconded by Jim, I think, right? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any issues?
What's going to go in here? I mean, it looks like I can't tell if it's townhomes or,
It's regular, single-family residential.
Principal Planner Fabre, can you help us out with that question?
It's 50 lots of single-family residence. It was presented to the P and Z, I believe, in September, not too
I
long
think I
ago.
missed that meeting.
It's multi.
Yeah, I saw I looked at the tiny little lots, right? Whole bunch of-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it had to be a PUD, Plan Unit Development. That's one of the reasons why it has to be a PUD.
Any further discussion? Any items? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting the Ocoee Landings PUD final site plan approval, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Hearing none, unanimous for those board members present. I don't think we have any old business at all to discuss. New business. I think this is Mr. Fabre again. How you doing tonight, Tony?
All right, this is my item here. It's Daniel and Ray property is around 6.95 acres in size. It has to be annexed into the city jurisdiction, and it also has to be rezoned to a proper zoning designation for the city. This is the location where it's at. It's south of West Colonial Drive. West Run is where, this is West 50 commercial lots over here where we have Pause and Play already built. This one is being under construction, which is Ocoee self-storage. And this is the location of the site that's still not in our jurisdiction. This is a graphic of our future land use map. Future land use map, we can have certain designations that are outside of our jurisdiction designated as commercial because of the JPA agreement that we had with Orange County a while back. So they're requesting the same future land use, which is commercial. Their jurisdictions to the north, west, and east abuts the city of Ocoee, so it is eligible for annexation. This is an aerial photo of the site, and again, here's Pause and Play, and right now, this is where the construction activity is going on. They've submitted a site plan for site plan and / subdivision plan, commercial subdivision plan, which we're currently reviewing, but they want to keep things moving, and we want to keep things moving, and so they just want to do the annexation and the rezoning. The rezoning that they requested is the same zoning that's out there, which is C3. And pretty much that's it. Our staff report is in your packet. You have a annexation feasibility analysis, and like I said, you will be seeing this commercial subdivision in a relatively near future, since we're reviewing it now and it's going to be coming back to the Planning and Zoning Board. Okay.
Are we convening as the planning agency on this one? Okay. We're acting as the local planning agency on this. Any other questions on this? Planner
Just
Fabre?
one. That property to the northeast, is that a wetland area there? Is it protected, or is it some?
That is wetlands, and there is a small portion or a portion of the wetland is in this site as well. That's one of the parts that we're reviewing now with the subdivision. They have to protect it, and they have to also have a 25-foot upland buffer for the wetland protection, or they can probably mitigate some of it, and they have to increase the size of the wetland someplace else in the same site.
I've got a couple of questions.
It's just not conserved. I've noticed on the zoning map that it's not green,
It doesn't
so.
show it.
Okay. It's not in good shape enough to conserve it, I guess. Go ahead.
The future land, let's see, the future land use map didn't have it. We tried to hit it on these things, but
There's no green in there.
it's still on a site-by-site basis when we do these things, yes. There's no green, but there is some wetlands there. The quality of it, I haven't read the report yet, and that's one of my comment questions going back to them, is that I need a copy of the environmental report that was done.
All right, sir? Any questions?
There's not going to be any access off of 50 into this property, right?
As far as I know, no, there's not gonna be an access from 50s. Doesn't meet any criteria for the spacing to have an access directly from 50.
So they're gonna
Direct
come around.
access will be from West Run Road.
West Run
And that was discussed a while back with the annexation agreement for this parcel over here, that the people that were doing this, I believe, had some type of interest on this one as well. So that was discussed a while back, and we are going to have a conditions of approval where access is granted to the city on 50, so that wouldn't happen.
Also, I'm a little bit familiar with it because I patronize the Pause and Play place there next door, and I noticed there's quite a drop from the Pause and Play to that lot. Looks like a lot of fill has to go in there. Is that problematic at all in your mind?
Well, the engineering, they're in the process of doing the engineering to it, and they're going to have to address that. Now, sometimes they move fill, they get fill from one area and put it there, but they may have to purchase to bring it up some. But that's something that we looked at. We have the city engineer that looks at those aspects.
There's also some power lines that cut right through it.
Yes,
I don't know if those.
Those power lines, we are looking into those, and they should be placed underneath the ground.
So who's going to do that?
Should
The
be
applicant
should
or
be
is
the
it Duke
It
Power?
should be the applicant, but we have to check to make sure certain things, because they had a long time ago, they had little structures all along here, and the power cord could have been, or the power over lines could have been to service those lots, but there may be, this over here, there's a big tower that is from FDOT, and I believe that might be getting power from there. So that is one of the items that we have in our list that's coming back to them. How are they going to handle that? We're working the reviews right now. We haven't finalized them yet.
Any more questions?
Yeah, this is
Jim?
annexation and initial zoning. This is not planning, so we're concerned about the annexation and the
And rezone.
zoning.
That's it.
Yeah. Going back to the access from 50, there's 3 cuts there. One is being used. It's called Weston Road, I guess, West Run Road. What about the other 2 cuts? Are they going to remain open, or is that going to be access for that rectangular property?
But this one's brand new. This one's existing. This one's new with this subdivision. This is going to go away. This is not, shouldn't be there. The State Road 50 right now is being improved by FDOT, so all of this out here, they're
Oh, okay.
ripping and tearing out there. So, yeah, that should be gone away.
Is the other
His
one?
entrance is only through restaurant, and actually, when it was going through here, this is going to be one of the only sites that's going to have an off-site sign over here in this corner that's relative to this property here. So, and you don't see that in the city, and it was because of that. So people will know that this is the only access is through here, and they're going to have a sign here so they can for this property.
Well, okay, I'll talk about that in a moment. What, the other cut there, what about the one in the middle? Was that remaining?
Yes, that one is existing. This is
Is the state going to leave that?
This is part
when
of-
the road is reconstructed there?
That's for the Pause and Play.
that's for pause and play, and for this future development of this lot over here, which is, I don't know, I think it's lot 2. There's already a site plan submitted for this lot, which is the Orlando Gun Club. And I believe we're pretty much wrapping up all the reviews and all the construction plans on that one.
All right, will there be, what about the turning maneuvers in and out of that? Is it going to be right in, right out, or is the state going to, they're probably going to put some median in there so you won't be able to turn, heading west, you won't be able to turn into that?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
I believe it's all going to be divided. It's going to be a divided highway where it's State Road 50. So
Yeah,
everybody's
so-
going to, this is going to be only a right in, right out. It's going to be,
Right.
you can't do any of those movements. And I believe this one might be a right in, right out as well. It's all going to be all divided.
Well, aren't we concerned about the interference between people trying to get on the turnpike, coming in from the, going east?
I think FDOT is concerned about that. That's why it's going to be
We should
all
be concerned
divided.
about it as well.
Yeah, that's why this full median, you can only do a right in, right out. You can't go in that way. You
But
can go-
also make an extra lane there for them to do
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's what I don't know that. Do we have that, have you looked at that stuff to see if that lane is going to be there? 'Cause somebody at 0 speed pulls out of there, and somebody else is coming in at 45 or 50 to make that ramp, the inevitable thing happens, so. You talking about lane over here? The middle. You have some information for us?
Yeah, Mike Rimmer, city planner. With respect to the annexation initial zoning, the property is just being tonight before you is, do we bring it in the city limits or does it stay in the county for future development? The Highway 50 corridor, the type of development that's already under construction, the access that's shown in front of the site will be taken out. Their only access will be off West Road. But with respect to the presentation for annexation initial zoning, we do not have plans on Highway 50 and the safety factor of the exit ramp. But we do want it in Ocoee. That's why we went ahead years ago when we were looking at annexing this property. We were reviewing the annexation and the development plan. And it took us a year and a half to look at the development plan. And then it went away and this property sat in the county, didn't pay the city any taxes. We can't code enforce it. So when they said, let's go forward with the annexation, I said, yes, that was going to be a requirement. We want to annex it and get it in under our jurisdiction ASAP. Thank you.
Okay, well, I appreciate all that, but I want to make sure that we do mention these things that the board and members have concerns about, like myself. So we do appreciate that. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Okay, we got a motion.
that we pass the annexation and initial zoning project number AX-08-15-55 and RZ-15-08-08.
Okay, I have a motion on the annexation and initial zoning of the Ray property.
Second.
You got a second over here? Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting this annexation initial zoning as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Hearing none, unanimous by those members present. All right, thank you. Next item is Priscilla property annexation. Priscilla?
Let's see it.
Priscilla, okay, I'll do that. Oh, how you doing there?
All right, how you doing?
Good, good.
Well, for the record, my name is Dwayne Jones, Planner 1 for the City of Ocoee. Before I get started, if you look at your staff reports for James Priscilla annexation, you'll see that there's a typo for the parcel identification number. The correct number should read 07222800000019.
So it's 07-22-28.
So it's just a 1, a 0 instead of the 1.
So the only change is instead of
Okay.
1, it should be a 0.
Just want to correct it for the record, thank you. All right, so what you can tell us about this?
Okay, this is the James Priscilla annexation. As you see here is the location map of his property. The highlighted bold areas, the annexation. It's a small portion. It's probably, I believe it's approximately 0.48 acres of land that he's annexing. And here's the current future land use map, and it shows that that portion of land is in a conservation area. And here's the surrounding zoning map. It shows that the property is in unincorporated Orange County at this time. And here's the aerial map of the portion of land that he will be annexing into the city. James Priscilla is purchasing a portion of land located at the rear eastern portion of his property that is currently owned by Shirley McCruman at 833 Pine Street. Her property is in unincorporated Orange County. So he's just annexing only to combine to his adjacent property. He has no intentions to build in that area, so it's only to combine to his adjacent property. Also note that this is only an annexation. This is not a rezoning. In order to rezone, he'll have to change the future land use as well. So at this time, it's just an annexation only. That's about it.
Why does he want it?
Well, I believe it's easier for him to maintain that portion of land, because where it's located, I believe there's a 50-foot drainage easement as well, and it's hard for her to maintain it. So I guess he just wants to maintain it because it's pretty close to his property, so,
Yeah, there's a big ditch there, that's a huge ditch.
yes.
It drains all of that area of Ocoee. I'm kind of like you, I don't know if I even want it, because there's very little you could use, if any.
Right.
Well, if it's gonna stay conservation,
Is that the current zoning of it?
The
Or is
future
it
land use,
agriculture? No, I mean.
the current zoning is agriculture according to Orange
Yeah.
County, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And you're going to leave it that, he just wants to annex it?
Exactly.
Okay.
that's my question. I talked about this with Mike a little bit. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking that property to the south, breaking a piece off of it, and just annexing that. My question was, why don't we just annex the whole property and then subdivide it out?
Now, we haven't contacted Shirley McCruman about that annexation. She is eligible to annex if she wanted to. So we could consider that.
But it's to our benefit if she does.
Exactly, of course, yes. So I'm
We have
assuming,
some- we have some leverage here.
to a certain extent, yes, we do. We just haven't contacted her at this point.
I understand.
It's 1,000 real.
Well, we're annexing that whole quadrangle, right, or that,
Well, but
It's just the bold area.
right now,
Right.
it's part of, this is the law right now.
yeah, it all
And-
shows it to be in the cities.
No, this isn't it. Right now, it's in the county.
I guess it's just zone residential, that's what it is.
It's in the county, and all they wanted, what
Well,
they're trying to do is just break off that one little piece.
I do not believe that's within our venue tonight to make that determination.
To determine what,
To make that determination to the rest of the property, we're just looking at that one specific area. What would staff recommend on this thing?
Yes, staff does recommend approval for annexation.
They recommend to annex it as it is, 0.48 acres. I guess we could ask them to go revisit the issue and come back with another.
The applicant is present as well if you want to ask them a question. Any questions?
I'm not sure if that's in our purview to do that at this meeting. It is? Oh, okay. Would you like to speak with the applicant? Ask
Well-
a question?
I don't think it's a question so much for the applicant as it is for the city. I don't know why we would want to start annexing these little tiny pieces, break them off of other pieces of property instead of just bringing the whole property into the city. We've got a problem where we've got all these enclaves of county land.
Right.
We need to start working on getting them into the city. So here we have an opportunity to say, okay, bring your property into the city, and then we'll talk about breaking off that piece. Seems to me just the smart thing to do.
Mr. Rumor, you got any suggestions on this? What is the appropriate action?
In this case, again, Mike Rumor, city planner. With this case, the applicant is Mr. Pasilla that lives on the east side. He does have authorization from the property owner on Pine Street that owns this. We have not been in direct talks with the property owner on Pine Street, but certainly we try to annex any properties that come our way that's under a voluntary basis, because you either have involuntary, which is a long process, voluntary, or you have a joint process with the county, and that this property doesn't fall within the criteria for the joint process. So certainly, we can talk to the property owner who's signed on the application, but we have not met with them and had any discussions to seek the annexation of those parcels. I can tell you, though, when we annex parcels that have existing structures, before we annex, we send out and we do a review of the property to gain an understanding of what we are annexing. And
Yes.
this piece has a number of
Number.
residents on it. It would create an issue in timing of annexation, but certainly we will. That's a good suggestion, while we do have the property owner kind of on the hook to talk to them about annexing the rest of it, yes.
So would we then, would it make sense to defer this action until you have that conversation?
Come back.
Yeah, we can table this and move it
I'll
on.
make a motion to table.
Okay, I got a motion to table this due to further discussion with the planning staff.
But
Do I hear a second?
you do have to open the public hearing. This is a public hearing.
Okay.
Well, I'm still waiting for,
Yeah, you don't want to table it till you let. the public-
Okay, let's let the public
let the
talk.
public talk.
all right, we'll hold
The
off on
motion
the.
stands.
Okay, we'll hold the motion. All right, we'll open the public meeting now, or public hearing. Be sure to fill out a form, please. Come to the public stand up here and identify yourself, name and address.
You can fill it out afterward.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, my name's James Basilla. I do own the piece of land at 531 Ocoee there. Just one tidbit of information I wanted to add. I wasn't really expecting to speak tonight, but we had gone through the process with Orange County to actually separate that .4 acres from Shirley and McCrummen's parcel. And that application was made to the county and it was approved, so it's actually, the property's actually been reconfigured so that the property line is no longer as it is shown there. There's two pieces there now. So,
Which property lines, you're talking about the black ones or the white ones?
Yeah, this one right here. It's in-
basically what's happening here is there's a stormwater ditch that runs between the two pieces
Right.
of property there, which I think Milton had mentioned. And you can't really see it very well here, but there's a very definitive stormwater ditch. It's like, 8
Yeah.
feet deep. It's pretty well-defined. And the idea was there, that piece of property, the .4 acres, is sort of orphaned from Shirley's piece of property, which is the piece to the west. So it just made a lot of sense to us to move the property line from where it was to the stormwater ditch, which is what the application was, that was made to Orange County, and it was approved by Orange County. Orange County had requested that because that piece of property was no longer part of her property, they wanted it to be annexed into the city of Ocoee. And I'm not sure formally if I'm saying that properly, Mike, but I just wanted to make the point that it actually already been approved by Orange County and is a separate piece of property at this point. So I've actually purchased it already, so I'm just trying to annex it into the city because the rest of my property's in the city.
Okay, so you don't own the other, or interest in the other property that we're
I
talking about
I
annexing?
just own the .48 acres and my piece, which is the east piece there, that's on Ocoee Apopka Road. So currently, part of my piece of property is in the city,
Yeah,
and part of
okay.
it's not.
Okay, so this would be added to that property, which would therefore.
It would, that's right.
already-
It's actually already owned, and the separation's already been approved by the county, so.
Okay,
So that ditch does that to quite a few properties back there. They'll cut off
Yeah,
the
I think it
backside.
probably does. You can see the next piece of property over, which is,
Yeah, my
is
son.
that yours or your
That's
son's?
son, Scott.
Your son's, yeah,
Yeah.
except
And
it
he
does
cut- he's got
the
a
same
piece
thing
on
to
the other
his.
side that we can't even get to.
That's correct, yeah. So, anyway, I just wanted to make that point, that it's actually already been approved by the county, so.
so, okay. Appreciate the
I
information.
do know, I have spoken with Shirley, I do have an affidavit to speak on her behalf, and I do not believe she's interested in annexing into the city, but I understand if you want to, communicate directly with her, that may make sense for you, but the piece that I'm asking to annex is a separate piece of property.
Okay, it's deeded separately then,
Correct.
okay.
Yep.
And will be added to a piece that's already in the city.
That's right,
so it'd
my
be
property is in the city.
contiguous with the properties.
That's
Okay.
correct, yep. I'm just realigning
All right.
my property boundary.
So addressing your motion.
I withdraw the motion.
Okay,
Because it's a
motion,
moot point at this point.
motion withdrawn. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the information. I guess that little side there is, this ditch is a prominent feature. Is this something that has got jurisdiction by like St. John's or somebody? Is it something we're going to have to kind of worry about in the future as far as, I mean, suppose somebody buys a piece of property and fills it in, what happens?
Don't know if this will show it, but yes, this ditch actually drains. It goes along, it goes under the 429 into Lake Apopka. So it is a significant ditch. It's one of the basins that we have 12 basins and 10 of them are closed. This is an open basin. This is a major flowway to Lake Apopka. And it's any of the stormwater requirements for development in this area under a St. John's permit have to meet a Lake Apopka rule, which is fine, but our general stormwater standards are higher than the Lake Apopka rule. We require 100%, 100-year storm retention. So yes, it is a very important waterway. It's not navigable, so I do not believe there's jurisdiction from DEP on this.
All right, I see that it's marked green, so that indicates
Well,
conservation.
yes, and
Is
it's
this
really-
informal marking, or is it
The
a,
ditch is deep, and so within that, the ditch is, in the ditch there's a wetland line and a 100-year flood line. In my experience working on the property right here, it's basically just at the top of bank is the limits of the conservation.
but it's a formal line then?
Yes, it's got water running through it,
Okay,
yes.
so someone would need to go through permitting and procedure to do anything with it or to it or around it?
Yes, in a simplistic sense, to put a drop more water than what presently flows in there from a property would have to have water quality
Okay.
and for rate and volume, but it's an open basin, so you're allowed, but you still have to meet our 100-year drainage criteria. So,
Okay. So is there anything on this annexation that we need to condition that property so that be something they're again look at in the future?
right now, there would be no, and staff isn't proposing any type of annexation agreement or such with this development because it is not in any way trying to do a rezoning and trying to develop into the ditch. So there's really no reason. This property actually, if you see from the aerial, it was a mess. It was hidden back there. The guy was storing millings, road millings, and junk, and Mr. Priscilla purchased it. It's industrial. It has a single-family home that was in operation. The guy sold firewood and had chickens. So it's never converted officially to the industrial zone use. So it's still operating under residential use.
Okay. All right, I guess we got enough information. Unless there's any questions. Okay, we'll close the public hearing, unless there's anybody else like to speak. Seeing none, move along. So looking for a motion to accept this.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as the local planning agency, recommends approval for an annexation for the James Priscilla annexation, project number AX-12-15-56 of the .48 acre parcel of land known as James Priscilla property.
All
Second.
right, we've got a second, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Thank you again, Mike, for the additional information, and Mr. Persia, appreciate that. Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Hearing none, unanimous by those board members present. Thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for your information on that. Moving along to the next item, which is C. The arbors at Crown Point, PUD. And we'll have a public hearing on this too at some point.
Yes. Okay, Mike Rumor, City Planner. The item before you is a substantial amendment to the existing arbors at Crown Point PUD Plan Unit Development. And what that means is there's an existing PUD for this property that allows 240 multifamily units and light industrial and commercial uses on the property. The uses in the PUD do not include as an outright use those uses that are deemed special exceptions under the commercial. So this amendment is to add a new use, a school use, a charter school use for up to 1,145 students. Because PUDs are amended two ways, non-substantial and substantial. A non-substantial change would be one that does not increase intensity, change use, change access. And substantial would be something like this, introducing a new use. So that's why it is determined to be a substantial change. In essence, we're rezoning it to back to what it is, but we're including an additional use. So we're rezoning it to PUD from PUD. The PUD allows you to kind of massage and make a zoning district other than straight C3, straight I1. So that's a little background on why it's called a substantial change. The property is located on West Road, east of Ocoee. This is the Fountains West Shopping Center with the Publix. You have the Walgreens and the McDonald's, and West Road. Ocoee Road and West Road, as long as Claricona, is owned and maintained by Orange County. Of course, then you have the 429. The subject area contains the Winter Garden Reclaim Fields on the north side here and part of the Forest Lake Golf Club. The West Orange Trail runs right on the east side of this property. Again, you have the Fountains West. You have a couple of vacant out parcels in the Fountains West development. This parcel is owned by a church. It does have a C3 zoning. It is owned currently by a church, but is undeveloped. Then you have the subject parcel. This piece is a remnant piece from the Expressway Authority, and then you have three other parcels heading east adjacent to the 429. Actually four, there's a little remnant piece from this property over here. You do have you can see from the aerial, you have the 429. This one seems to be a little bit older. I don't see there it is, you can see, yes, the on-ramp for the 429. You can see the Winter Garden, rib fields for reclaim, you can see the golf course and such. And presently on this back half, the arbors at Crown Point, a 240-unit apartment complex is going up. The lay of the land, as you're on West Road coming over the 429, this property sits downhill below. The road's elevated. So the issue is, should the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of a substantial amendment to the arbors at Crown Point PUD and amendment to the land use plan, changing sort of the uses on the existing land use plan. That's kind of how the PUD zoning's set up, by a land use plan. So you don't go to the land development code to find out what the arbors PUD allows. You go to the arbors land use plan. This is for Charter School USA, a 1,145 student K through 8th grade charter school. The arbors PUD, again, this is the apartments on 17.5 acres. The parcel in question is over 10, it's 10.6. There's going to be an extension along with the development of this parcel, parcel B. Well, actually, the apartments will, from the existing of the paved road right here. The apartments will pave it up through just past their entrance. And it'll be facilitated, it'll be constructed here. The development of this parcel is responsible for developing the rest of the public road to the West Orange Trail where it stops. These parcels are not subject to the application. We haven't reviewed any development plans for these parcels yet, but there is public road access being provided. This is a remnant part of West Road which is in existence today. There is from this exit, there is not it's not a full access, so you have to right in, right out. Fountains West Boulevard is the main entrance into this PUD. It is a full entrance, but it is not signalized, and it does not have left turn lanes going into the vacant property. There is as well, along here, a overhead power easement for power lines for Duke Energy. The proposed Charter School USA Charter School is proposed at 68,000 square feet, 2-story. Let's see here, this is the apartments. You can see where they're going to construct the road, and this is the subject parcel. It's a 68,000 square foot K through 8th charter school. The campus will consist of one single 2-story building with associated recreation facilities and recreation fields, and a tot lot right there. The recreation field will not be lighted. Their stormwater facility will be on the west side of the property, which also provides stormwater retention for portions of the public road. Access to the site is being proposed on this one entrance at the remnant West Road. Again, this is West Road and this is West Road. They are both under the jurisdiction of Orange County. I do not know if at some point this will be renamed or will be called West Road North or something like that. I don't know at this time. A secondary, not on this plan, is a secondary access will be provided, and a gated emergency access will be provided, a punch-through gate somewhere in this location. They may have an updated plan with their presentation that shows that. Again, this is for a charter school use, 1,145 students, one building. The way the property facilitates is the cars will come in, pull in. Again, this is elevated and it goes downhill. The cars will get in line for drop-off or pickup, come out. This is the point where the cars are stopped, and you'll see the presentation from the applicant. Then they come out here and make a right turn lane. The original PUD, back when we had the apartments and the commercial, the PUD was approved with a traffic study and commitments for future roadway improvements for 5,100 trips. One of the roadway improvements, part of the PUD, is at Fuller's Cross Road and Ocoee Road. I'm not going to have, it's down past here, but there's a requirement to provide a left turn lane from Ocoee onto Fuller's Cross. Will pay for turn lanes, so they had a mitigation to pay towards turn lanes. We also received some from the Eagle Creek subdivision and the Glad Tidings Church. So one way we can help the traffic in the area is by keeping Ocoee Road flowing more smoothly. And we're doing that by putting left turn lanes at all 4 intersections to get the cars that you don't have to stop now and wait to make that turn. So as part of the PUD, they had that roadway improvement to help fund. Again, the original PUD had the multifamily, and it also had the commercial with a total trip allotment of 5,000, just over 5,000. When we review this application, the traffic study indicated that on 1,145 students, it did not trip the maximum trips allowed. If it would have, we would have had to look at all the facilities, what we need to modify. But it shows, of course, the school has a peak transportation trip, which is different than commercial. Commercial is spread out between 9 and 6. The charter school has 2 peak times in the AM, again, and then in the afternoon. So with all of the traffic for this use in this parcel coming right in, right out, there's currently no ability to, there's intersection is not signalized, and there's not a left turn lane. So any cars that want to come out and head back to the 429 or head east, they must go down West Road to Ocoee, Apopka. And, I mean, you could do a U-turn, but that would not be a safe operation as it's not signalized. Go to Ocoee, Apopka to the turn lane and head south, or do a U-turn again. The traffic study indicated that the only issue with this type of development are all those trips that are happening at the peak AM drop-off and the peak afternoon pickup, and the amount of left cars that are going to want to come out here and head back to the 429. There's sort of 3 options that are being considered. One that we are proposing and looking, and again, this is Orange County has to buy into it, has to sign off and approve it. It's their road. They're going to have to review the plan. But one option we are looking at is, if you can see, but there's actually 2 left-hand turn lanes on West Road. Adjacent to the median, it's striped so you don't enter, because it facilitates dual less, but Ocoee Apopka Road is only a 2-lane road, is making that striped turn lane into a U-turn only lane and providing a new signal head on there to allow just U-turns, a lane just for U-turns. A second option would be this existing left turn lane. Let me do this. It showed up better on my computer, but it's not showing up good here. Okay. So for the 180 days schools in session and this 2 peak AM and the peak afternoon period, we're looking at taking the striping out and making this a dedicated U-turn lane with a new signal. There's a second option we're looking at, this existing turn lane, extending it down to a point close to this area where this right out is, to provide the stacking, yes, because there could be a instance where there's enough cars wanting to turn left that kind of back up and creep into this lane where you have the 2 through lanes going straight on Ocoee Crown Point Parkway. So you extend this left turn lane, or the third option would be providing some outlet for trips here and looking at this intersection.
But no light there?
It could be putting a light, it could be just a blinking light, it depends on. This is not a big trip generator, so I don't know and again, this is Orange County, what their warrant standards are
Total
at this point.
The concentration of the trips is the issue.
Right, yes, so we have a lot of future development to happen. This is all vacant, commercial, and then we have all the property over here. So at some point, there's going to be a need to have this as an
And the stuff down to the south is going to be commercial as well.
right, so if you were to signalize this intersection, you would also have to create a left turn lane here, even though it's going in the vacant to allow people, it's signalized, you can then do a safe U-turn. So there's 3 options. One we're looking at with respect to the third one by exiting trips onto this road. There is a desire from the city not to overload this Fountains West entrance and to be able to have these properties be viable for development. So the idea is to keep all the trips for the school on this section of West Road. And then we will have to compensate for the left turns.
Speaking of U-turns, how does someone coming up Ocoee, Apopka Road, trying to get to the school, how do they get there? If they're coming from the south? Right, and then how do you get into the school?
Oops.
There is a left turn there.
I think there is,
You
yeah.
said right in, right out.
Coming from the south? Yeah, so if coming from the south going into the school, there's a left turn lane. Oh, to turn right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, turn right.
Turn right there.
Oh, I'm sorry, into the charter school, okay.
Yeah, go
Yes,
for it.
yes, sorry, okay.
West Road. Up
Yeah, there
there's
is a left turn lane in front, yes.
Thought you said
So this
it
is,
was-
this
thought
is
you
not
said
a,
it was right in, right out.
you cannot,
Coming out of there, you can't go either way, you know.
So
you
don't
cannot
think-
make a left out of this. It's not a
Right.
full intersection.
Okay,
So
so
you-
now you have the same issue then with that left turn lane with stacking,
This left turn,
Yes.
that one there.
yes.
It's pretty
You haven't
long.
talked about that.
Well, the traffic study did not see a need to extend this left turn lane. So it meets the criteria.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's all hypothetical.
Basically, you're gonna have 600 cars converge on this place in 30 minutes. Twice a day. That's not hypothetical, that's,
We don't know where they're coming. We don't know
you know where they're coming from. So the best you can do is split them 50-50 from each
50-50.
direction.
300.
So you get 300 cars trying to turn left there in 30 minutes. You don't think it's gonna stack?
The,
Short duration.
Depends on traffic going the other way.
yeah, let me get back there. So we'll let the applicant address, and I'll look at something to get back with you on that as well. The, okay, in the staff report, I provided information on current student, the population generated from the apartments, which was 33 students would be zoned for Claricona Elementary School, 14 students, which are zoned for Ocoee Middle School, and 16 from Ocoee High. And then I gave what the surrounding the school's current capacity is. And then I also included the Kids Community College Charter School. Now that charter school was always in Ocoee. It was just located in a church that had to go with the address, but it was a charter school with 350 students in the city of Ocoee. It's changed locations, and they're now building up their 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then I provided what future schools could be on the horizon. I listed 3 properties. The Arden Park PUD, which is east of here, has 12 to 15 acres set aside to be purchased from the school, but the school has not purchased the property. At some point in the development agreement, the developer can request they either purchase it or they get to enact development rights on it. We have the property on Ingram Road, which has, since 2007, an approved middle school on it, and the school board owns the property, and they have an approved special exception for a middle school, but there's no school on the CIP list, or hasn't been built to date. Then you have the Ocoee Elementary School, which is across from the high school, which there's set aside 12 to 15 acres. And what I mean by that is generally on the public schools, elementary schools, they go 15 acres, but you can go down to 12 if there's shared stormwater retention. So the school board owns that property. We just haven't designated the full acreage. That's being done as part of the development plan for Mattamy Homes. The next step, if the PUD is approved, amended to include the school, would be the preliminary and final site plan, which goes into greater detail on it's the civil plans for constructing the improvements for the school. And those are both public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Commission. With that, I will entertain any questions.
I have a question about the two roads on either side of the school property that head east. The one is existing now at the bottom, and I guess the new one is gonna divide the multifamily property. And
Yes.
so,
So
are both
it'll-
of those roads future planned to cross the trail and connect to some future development, or is one of them being eliminated?
This road is presently constructed to a point where it's an access. When they built West Road, and
Right.
with the 2 lanes with the center divide, and then it just tapers off to this point. Beyond this point, there's not enough right-of-way there presently, but it can be. As developments come in, they can dedicate, and there could be a public road. This certainly is providing access to these properties. So they have the potential to have 2 public access points. Certainly, they will have one, definitely. Beyond this point, it could be private. It could be a drive aisle into a commercial district. It could be some multifamily drive or something.
But the main road for that east direction would be the new one, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
For the residential.
For the residents, not for the school.
For the residential.
For the residential,
Yeah, I
future
get
part, and
that,
the
but I
future
don't quite
parcels to the
understand
east.
why the school's not connected to that. I'd love to get into the transportation engineering.
I think you said you're trying to keep that
Well,
open
yeah.
for future development on the north
Yes.
side of this. right?
Mr. Marco, yeah, that's not, the access point for the school to use this road
Yeah.
is not a function of the transportation analysis saying don't do it. No, it's not. It's a function of, we've got an apartment community that's under construction approved, that will be utilizing this road at a peak AM. And we have future properties that we want to be able to build at highest and best. So the thought was, let's not overload this road up front. So by keeping all of the trips for this development here, it prohibits the ability to have a lot of taillights stacking it for some reason. If
Yeah,
they were
for
to
a short period of
enter on this,
time.
yes, so.
But
That's all. But it's not a function of the traffic
expecting
study.
U-turns is not a very good idea at all. So that's a dangerous maneuver. I mean, I would rather deal with the stacking for 30 minutes and the people who live there can figure it out, but.
Okay, good comment.
Yeah.
You said something about this, actually, it's like a drop-off lane on the school. You said something about a gate being across there that would be a
Yes.
emergency, is that correct?
Okay, yeah, it's sort of like, it'll be,
Oh, it's on that road?
yes, so
It's
there will
not on
be,
the school?
the
school
gate is
road.
on school property, yes. And so what happens is, there'll be a
Okay.
Miami curve, the V curve at that section of road, and then there will be landscaping, or it'll be grass, it'll be stabilized with a nice gate that the fire department can cut the lock or crash through if they need that secondary entrance or exit.
Okay. I was
But
thinking
as
about
it
the,
falls within this, it'll be in this section over here, yes.
but in that drop-off loop or in the,
It'll connect to the drop-off loop, yes.
oh, okay. Oh, right, it'll be running east and west there.
It'll be
Along the
perpendicular
property
to it,
line.
yes.
Okay.
Just to clarify.
What you're not, what you don't see with the lines is there's a landscape buffer between the edge of pavement from this future road to their outside lanes. So there's room to have a stabilized access where you can have emergency access.
Okay. And something?
Yeah, just a point of clarification, Mike. Now, if there were a commercial entity to be put in there instead of a charter school, that commercial entity would pay property taxes, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And this commercial or this charter school, will it pay property taxes?
No, they will not.
Okay,
And,
so the city, if we approve this, the city will lose the benefit of property taxes on that property.
Yes.
But you got your public school would have to make up for the capacity that's not gonna be there. And when they bought somewhere else in the city, then you wouldn't have to get taxes on that either.
So, Mike, did you ever say approximately how many students they'd expect to have in this school?
Their charter, what they're requesting is 1,145 students, K through 8th grade.
Okay, I didn't hear that the first time.
Hey,
What's the
Mike, just
significant
had one
traffic?
question also.
Yes, sir.
The number of trips you were saying at peak, is it 3,433 or is it less than that?
No, yeah, no, I'll come back and give you that, those
Okay.
trips at peak time. No, that's the overall, what the apartments and this are generating.
Okay.
Is less than the 5,000 trips.
Total.
Total.
Trips, yes. So if, for instance, we're gonna generate more trips than the 5,000, we would have to look at
Right.
level of service of roads and the other roadway.
I was just trying to figure out if that was peak time or just total generated, so you're telling me it's total generated.
And they're transportation consultants here, so he'll know off the top of his head what those peak numbers are.
Question, Mike, was the traffic study done by their consultant or by you?
Yes, the way the process goes is they provide a traffic study by a engineer consultant, then we review it. We do have a traffic consultant that we consult with that reviews that study. They provide the study under the methodology that we require. We have an adopted methodology. We provide that to them, then they provide the traffic study and we review it. So it's reviewed by two transportation professionals. We do not have a transportation engineer on staff.
So they were hired by the prospective charter school or by the
The charter school hired someone, a
Okay.
consultant, and then our consultant, separate consultant, reviewed it.
Any other questions?
We're going to get a presentation like was presented last night from the...
Are we going to?
Yeah,
They're here, we'll see I don't know what they're providing.
okay.
All right.
For those who don't know, there was a town hall meeting last night on this
Oh,
topic.
okay.
Several of us were there. Jim was there, I was there, Milt was
District
there.
Commissioner 1, John Grogan, did a kind of a town hall meeting, mailed out 1,300 notices to his constituents, and it was a meeting last night here.
Okay. So we could be hearing that after your presentation is completed?
Can you hear?
We would be hearing that after your presentation
Well,
is
the
completed?
applicant gave one yesterday, so they may do the same one or something. I don't know what they're going to do.
Okay.
Mike, out of those 1,300 invitations that went out, how many actually showed up? Do you have any idea?
Well, there were people that, I don't know that answer, but the room was not packed, but it was a good crowd, so.
More than your typical city commission meeting.
Well, we had quite a few from other districts too, other than one.
We did.
Well, it's open to
Everybody.
everybody, not just Ocoee. So,
You gonna open public?
I know I was going to ask you about the athletic, or the amenities as far, I see they show a basketball court and a tot lot. The rendition kind of shows something, looks like almost like a football field. So that would be, and I see lights there. What is that all about? Is that,
Those are parking lot lights. I mean, the field, actually, it may be synthetic turf or it may be grass, I don't
now,
know.
is that part of this charter school thing at the moment, or is that a separate lot that's?
No, that is the playing field.
Oh,
That's
that is
not
the
an out
playing
parcel.
field.
Yeah, the confusion on the site plan, it did show,
Yeah.
it showed
That's what I was
that
just
it
wondering.
meant that this is a commercial lot
Okay,
in the existing PUD, yeah.
that's what I see it there.
Okay.
The other thing is, okay, so what are the, I guess we'd have to ask the applicant, but what are the plans about, since there is going to be Is this gonna be elementary school, or what is,
K
what
through
is?
eight.
K through 8.
Kindergarten through 8th grade,
So, what would be the evening programs that would be
yes.
appropriate, or be requested or involved?
Won't you let
I
them
believe
do the
they'll cover some of that
presentation,
under
we'll
their
answer them.
presentation.
Okay.
It's a lot of information, there's a lot of technicality.
If they're gonna do the presentation, I haven't heard they're gonna do it yet, so are they gonna do it? Okay. Let's do that then. We're ready.
You have to open the public hearing, do that.
Okay, if Mike's done, we'll open the public hearing and proceed to that part of it.
You want to do it?
I didn't know he was finished yet.
Are you done?
I'm done.
I said I was done. If you have any questions,
No, we
I'll
might need
entertain.
you. We might
I'm not
need you.
leaving.
Don't
No.
go away. Okay, the public hearing is
I'm
open.
Chip Portis with Summit Construction Group.
Your name again,
We are
please?
the builder.
Your name again, please?
Chip
Okay,
Portis, C-O-R-D-E-S.
all right, thanks.
And our offices are located downtown Orlando. Let me pull this up for you. The presentation we had last night had a lot of information about charter schools, their testing criteria, how they rate in the state compared to traditional schools. We have all that information here. If you would like to see it again, or those of you that saw it last night would like me to show it again, we're more than happy to do it. But tonight, what I really was gonna focus on was more the traffic videos and address the traffic issues and show you some maps and things, and some other sites that we own, or that we've built that are similar layouts.
I think the traffic is a consideration we need to look at.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I was here last night.
We're gonna put you on TV.
There were several members that were here, but if you'd like to see the full presentation or the other members, so you can make a,
I didn't see the traffic presentation. I'd be really curious about what they're talking about that myself. Any other members?
There's a lot of information in here, so. I could get a-
Okay.
We can show you this.
Definitely
If there's more
worthwhile.
you want, we're more than happy to
Yeah.
show you. Okay, this map, unfortunately, on this one, it doesn't look like a round circle, but it is. This is a 2-mile and a 4-mile radius around the proposed site, which is here. These are all the public schools that are currently in the area.
It's around by now.
All of them that are listed in a white block are schools that are currently over enrolled, they're over capacity. There's 5 of them, and most of them outside the 2-mile radius. There are 5 schools that are currently under capacity. Here's a list of all the schools with the mileage that they are from the site, their actual enrollment, and their design capacity. Now, these numbers are reported every month. These numbers are reported every month on the Orange County Public School Board website, and they show the actual enrollment and the capacity. These numbers were taken off of their January 15th, 2016, last month it was taken off of their website.
Because this is quasi-judicial, you have to speak in the microphone.
Okay.
The recording will continue.
All right, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Just
I feel like a Verizon commercial.
So just a point of clarification, not all those schools are in Ocoee, right?
No, sir, all of these schools are within a 4-mile radius.
Thank you.
Okay? This shows you the actual enrollment and what the design capacity is, what the difference, what percentage they are over or under capacity, and what 2014 school grade was based on FCAT scores, what their school grade was. As you can see that anything within 3.5 miles stops at Lake Jem Elementary, and your grades are posted here as to what their public school grades were and what their overage or unders. Within 3.5 miles, there's only 1 school that's under capacity, all the others are over capacity. You're about 10.4% over capacity. Of the schools within 4 miles, there's 19 schools. 3 of them were A's, 4 of them were B's, 7 were C's, 2 were D's, and the other 3 were still pending. That's where they may have appealed the final decision, and they're trying to get that overturned. This is from your website, which shows all of the new projects that are in planning to be built. And when you add all this up of what's said here, you're looking at approximately 5,496 new residences are coming into Ocoee. And as you can see, this site is pretty well centrally located.
Again, not all of those are in Ocoee. that you just
I understand, but.
You said they were in Ocoee, but they're not.
All right. The population within 5 miles of this school is 132,000 people. There's 45,000 households, and the population of ages 5 to 14, that happens to be a common census break, ages 5 to 14, which happens to be also the ages that go to a K-8, so it works very good for us. There's almost 17,000 students within 5 miles. If we take that factor of 16,000 students out of 45,000 households, that's a factor of 0.375 per house. You take the new houses that are coming in, apply that factor, add it to the existing overcapacity, and in the very near future, there's a potential of being almost 3,500 students over-enrolled within a 4-mile radius of this site. So really the need for a school, whether it's a public school or a charter school, and let's understand that a charter school is a public school, it's just that we are removed from some of the acreage requirements and size requirements that they do in the public school system. And charter schools are designed to fulfill where there is an overcapacity. They're designed to offer parents a choice. Unfortunately, if a parent is unhappy with a public school or a traditional school, their only choice is to homeschool or go to private school. Not everybody is financially able to send their children to private school. So a charter school gives parents a choice of a free, tuition-free school that's sponsored by the state and by federal monies. I think an important thing to mention here is that in your property taxes, there's a certain dollar amount, and it's about 60 to 65% of your property taxes goes to the local county for the public school system. The charter school industry in the state of Florida gets funded by the State Department of Education. We received, last year was $6,400 per student on average. That money is coming from the state and federal money. Even though we may not be paying property taxes, we're also not receiving any of that money to educate the children in the charter school. All that money stays locally with the current school board, even though they're not educating those children. In the state of Florida last year, the estimated cost through the Department of Education for every child educated in a traditional public school was almost $11,000. The charter schools do it on $6,400, and our test scores pretty much across the board are very consistent or better than traditional public schools when you take it as an all and an average. Again, all of those charts from the State Department of Education from their website, I have all those available. I can review them with you. I just didn't want to put them in and take up a lot of your valuable time if you didn't want to see them. This is the site plan that Mike was just showing you. It shows that we have stacking lanes. When we turn in, we have 2 lanes that then turn into 4 lanes. We have almost 5,000 linear feet of stacking on site, 5,000 linear feet, almost a mile of stacking on our property. And I'm going to show you a couple of quick videos. They're an hour long each. I have 3 of them, but I've condensed them to 2 minutes. So when you see them, you can see, I mean, everything's moving pretty quickly, but not so fast you can't see what's happening. And we'll show you a school where we have 20,000 cars per day out front and how that traffic works. We have another one that we'll show you that has 15,000 trips per day. And the trips per day on West Road is less than 5,000 trips per day occurring. This is an artist rendition of one that we did up in Duval County. It's called Flagler Center. As you can see, it's very, very similar to the site plan that we're proposing here, where we enter and we drive all the way around the building and we come out on the other end. These are actual photographs of that school. As you can see, it's very similar. The cars enter, they go all the way around the back, they stack, they come out on this side where there's a covered area where the cars then unload, the children are escorted into the school area, and then the cars depart. The cars then depart the property. just in case you have in your mind, you're saying, well, you're gonna open in August, and we're in February, how in the heavens are you ever gonna have this thing built? That's what our company does. We've been doing this, we've built over 1 million square feet, we have 6 projects under construction, hopefully this is one of those 6 for this year. This is the school I just showed you in Flagler Center in Duval. This picture aerial, this aerial was taken on March 3rd, April 1st, May 1st, June 1st, July 20th, and August 19th. We consistently, year after year, build charter schools, 2-story, tilt-up wall construction, finished roofs, state-of-the-art interior with playgrounds, and this one actually has artificial turf in it in 6 months. This one was done in 5 months and 2 weeks. So as far as getting it finished, we don't see a thing with any problems with our time issue as of right now. All right, this school happens to be one we did, which is charter schools, is Duval Charter School at Mandarin. Now, when I say Duval Charter School, it's still the same charter school holder as this one, which is Renaissance Charter Schools. Renaissance Charter Schools in Duval, they call them Duval Charter Schools. Here they refer to them as Renaissance Charter School. But it's the same owner, same nonprofit organization. This one here, as you can see, we came in, we did all of our stacking all the way around to the back and back out. And I'm gonna show you some videos, a real quick 2-minute video that shows you how all those cars stack. And that's coming out of almost 15,000 trips per day on that road. And again, this one is the one on the west side. We're gonna show you a morning drop-off where the cars enter in a single location, they stack around, and then they exit over here. And this intersection, there's currently no traffic light here. And you'll see we have a very short left-hand turn lane here, and at no time do we really back it up. It's important to realize that the school opens at 6:30. A lot of parents want to be able to drop their children off on the way to school so they don't leave them home by themselves. The school opens at 6:30. We allow children to come in early. Anybody who's there before 7:15 is fed breakfast. They're allowed to meet with their teachers, but all of them are in the cafeteria area until school starts. Again, so our drop-off is sometime between 6:30 and 8:15. In the afternoon, when the children leave at 3 o'clock, they can stay as late as 6 o'clock. So we provide after-school care where the children can stay, they can join clubs, they can do activities, they can study, or they can just have free time, whatever the parents select for their children. And they can pick them up as late as 6 p.m. So it's not that we have all the traffic during 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the afternoon. It is pretty well spread out over about a 4.5-hour period. This is the site we're looking at here, and as you can see what the trips are, according to the national studies with the 2012 studies. I think our traffic engineer, when he talks, I think this is up to like 3940 right now, 3942 or something like that. So it's up a little, but it's not up compared to the 20,000 and the 15,000 at the 2 schools we completed last year. Before he gets into his, if it's all right, I'd like to show you this video.
2 minutes, right?
1 hour each, yes, sir. All right, this is the one here. No, this is the, oh, sorry. Sorry. This is the west side drop-off. Now, this is the west side school that we showed you. This is 103rd Street, and you can see how much traffic there is. But watch here. Here's the left-hand turn lane to turn in. And anybody coming east on this road has to turn in and make a U-turn. Now, remember, this stacking area went all the way over to the left, turned left again, and went in behind the school. And when I show you the pickup in the afternoon, there's a better explanation. This is 1 hour. This is between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m., which most people would think is the peak time that people are going to drop their children off. And there's the one father and his son that walk to school every morning. But you can watch that at no time do we really back up. And the way that we release the parents in a very safe manner, they never back up over here departing either. So the traffic, as you can see, we're not really stacking up much at all. So the left-hand turn lane that's currently on West Road is it's very adequate for the traffic that we feel we're gonna generate. And I know that the traffic engineers can give you facts and figures and tell you it's not gonna impact, but until you can actually see how our traffic works, this gives you a better idea. Let me give you now the afternoon pickups.
Chip, I want to clarify to you that these stacking lanes are half the length and size of what we're providing.
Right. This stacking lane here, when we add up the distance of all of them, it's 2,800 linear feet. And in the proposed site plan we have for this site, it's almost 5,000 linear feet. So we're able to stack 40% more cars on our property than we do on this one. And you saw on this one that at no time did we ever get anywhere near maximum stacking ability. Now what you're gonna see here is a departure in the afternoon, and you're gonna see how.
What was the enrollment in the school at the time you took this?
This was, it was in the 900 range. It was the second year. So first year we usually have about 660, second year about 910, third year 1145. And the reason is we start with only K through 6, and then the 6th graders move up to 7, and then the following year the 7th graders move up to 8. So that way, there's not very many parents who are going to take their children out of 8th grade and move them to another school. We understand that. It is a parental choice thing. But as you can see here, all the cars are stopped, and then they're brought up one row at a time. At that point, the children are all loaded. Each of those lanes depart. The children are then loaded into the next batch of cars. They each depart. So at no time do we have cars moving in the pickup or drop-off lanes while the children are crossing the lanes to get into it. It's very well organized. This one happened to be the day it was shot. One of the cars broke down, and it still functioned fine, even though one of the cars had broke down in the lane. Now what I'm going to show you is, this is the Mandarin one with the 15,000 cars, traffic out front. This one we stack around the back of the school. This is looking out at the main road where the people are turning in left and right. They're both coming in. This is looking out the back. Right here, you see where we're stopping the cars waiting? And then the next ones will go up to be unloaded while these are waiting. And at no time, now this one had about 4,000 linear feet of stacking, less than what we're proposing here. And you'll see as we pan across, this is peak drop off, and we never got beyond here as far as stacking. And we had 4 lanes all the way back to the edge of the school, and then the 2 lanes all the way to the road. So at no time did we ever occupy more than about 65% of our stacking ability on this property. And that's with the same, that was about 910 students when we did this one. And it was with 15,000 cars a day. Here they are exiting, and we designed our schools such that we allow for the traffic and to be on our property and not stacked up at intersections on the road. Any questions?
Just one, like,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I just had one, is it like the airport, if your kid's not ready, then you gotta keep it moving?
No, actually what we do, we have a process in place where the parents have a sticker in the window. So as they come up and they get in that line, one of the teachers is out there with a walkie-talkie, and she actually calls into the cafetorium. The names are put up on a screen. The children are then staged inside the cafetorium. So when their cars come up, once they're all in park, the children exit the cafetorium and go right to their cars. So they're all positioned properly. We're actually working up one now with RFID identification, where we don't have to have the teacher out there taking the numbers, that as they enter the facility, their number will automatically be scanned. And if they don't have an RFID on their car, then they're gonna have to call in advance and make arrangements for that. All right, I'd like to turn it over to.
Any other questions before he turns it over to the traffic?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Go ahead.
Good evening, Commission. I'm James Taylor with Leftwich Consulting Engineers. We're at 12151 Science Drive. Drive in Orlando. And I just want to thank the staff and Chip for making my job real easy tonight. I'm not going to tell you too much more than they've already told you. As Mr. Rumors showed you, what Summit hired us to do is the traffic impact analysis per the city's requirement. They provide us with a methodology. We usually do a phone call. If it's a more involved project, we'll actually go through a back and forth with how we're going to do the project, but this one's pretty straightforward. As part of that methodology, we do an existing traffic analysis for what the existing level of service is out there today on the roadways and at the intersections. Then we do a trip generation analysis per the latest data available from the Institute of Transportation Engineers. This is a group that collects a whole lot of data over a whole lot of years, and we use those rates for new projects. And then we distribute those trips with the use of an adopted travel demand model and assign those trips to the roadways within a study area that is a part of that methodology. For this one, due to the size, it was a 1 mile radius around the school plus any links outside of that are at least 5% significance. What that means is the capacity of those links, at least 5% of that is being used by the school. Potentially in the future. And then we analyze what the build-out conditions are after we load those project trips on top of the background. For the case of a school, and we worked this out with Mr. Rumor ahead of time, we actually did an AM analysis for the operational look and also the PM peak, since that's the max period of background traffic. And we also did an on-site stacking analysis. And the conclusions of that report were that per the guidelines and the methodology in the Land Development Code, that all the facilities within the study area are going to operate within adopted level of service standards after mitigation, after build out and some mitigation that I'll discuss on the next slide. The site plan showed that there was ample on-site storage to accommodate the peak hour operations for this school without any spillover into West Road or West Road North, whatever we're going to call it. The queue length at the westbound left turn, and I'm going to show you a figure on this last bullet, at the westbound left from west onto Ocoee Apopka Road, we did note that there was some spillover in the AM peak. And what we're proposing to do with that on this next figure is add 330 feet of that extension so that, as you discussed the U-turns earlier, those U-turns can have a place to stack up without spilling over into the through travel lanes. When we initially submitted the report, we explained that we don't really think that 330 addition is necessary, only because the westbound traffic is so light in the morning there that one through lane would be ample, but we went back to the city and the city did ask to show what that mitigation would look like, so it's included here today. The one question that I heard that Mr. Rumor did not bring up was he deferred to me, was the left turn lane. Let me get my, it's not going to go on the screen. So the left turn lane here, we discussed the ability to put all those trips inside. Here I've actually put what the turning movement is there in the AM for each of the moves. These green fonts are project traffic. These two through movements are the background traffic. And the easiest reason to explain why that queue is ample enough, it's actually a level of service B. Level of service are kind of like school grades. You know, you go from an A to an F. F is no good, A is really good. That movement is a B in the future, and the primary reason is those lefts are going to have a lot of gap because of that very light westbound through traffic. They can come right up there and move right on through. As you can see, there's less than 300 trips in the AM making this through movement today, so that these guys don't really have to wait for much gap. And that pretty much concludes everything that I didn't hear already given by the staff and by Chip. If you have any questions.
Yes, sir. Got a question?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Traffic? engineer?
Traffic, yes, sir.
Okay.
So the 269 trips that you're showing coming from the east toward the west is current.
That was current with a 1%, 2% growth rate to get it into 2016. We actually took that count in December 2015. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess my question is both to you and Mike. So now, you've got development going on the other side of the Forest Lake Golf Course. You got Arden Park, you got the, whatever that other one is that's going on over there. You've got, this is, the Fountain West is the closest place for them to go. I mean, a 1 or 2% increase in traffic may not capture that growth very well.
The Ocoee Pines, Arden Park developments, they are already pre-programmed into the database for those trips, and those trips are thrown in already.
So
So
the
they-
269 includes that?
Yes, so those background trips are, well, there's another way to explain it. They're already, when you get the existing trip database from our consultant, Ocoee Pines was vested years ago when they dedicated the right-of-way for the realignment. Arden Park was vested. They, in order to start building, they paid whatever mitigation, did what they need to do. So those are background traffic.
Okay, well, then the next question is, have you taken into account the traffic that will be added when the commercial lots on the south and then the rest of the Fountains West property get developed?
And that's based off, that's programmed in based off the land use on the property. So,
Yeah, but that's just commercial, right? So-
right, yes.
So you don't
yes,
know.
so- Right, and what you can't do is under commercial in City of Ocoee, you can have a lot of commercial under a land use, but it never develops to its potential. So there's a formula for a land use. I don't know, what, can you describe that? How is land use considered when you don't have a?
Well, in this case, we already had vesting of the, I forget the number, Mike, 5,000 daily trips. And what we did trip generation for this site, and it's only 3,000 daily for the school. We did the operational analysis in the AM only because in the AM, those trips aren't really on a database with the city. They only consider PM because that's the primary background. That's the limiting factor of people getting around in the city is in the PM hour. The AM was considered for this purpose because it is a school and because that is the primary peak generator hour for the school.
So his research was a little bit modified because when we initially did the PUD, all of that was factored in and came up with a maximum trip generation of 5,100 trips. Since they are not triggering that, we didn't do, all those models were not plugged in. They're just looking at the peak, sort of peak time. So the original PUD factored in the land uses and those vested developments when it came through in 2014.
So now you get the 269 coming from the east and 388 coming from the west. How did you allocate, how did you determine that was the load that would come from both directions? How do you know
Sure.
that that's where those people are going to be coming from with their students?
Sure. So the 269 is actually background traffic. I think
I'm
you're
sorry.
referring to the 179 from the west.
269 and 179.
Correct.
Or the 388 and the 179.
Correct. So what we do is the MPOs around the state of Florida and a lot of the DOT districts, they do a lot of travel demand modeling where we figure we have the roadway networks and the land use data that we receive from the counties and the cities and all the municipalities. There's a very long process to get an adopted regional model, and then everybody kind of agrees, hey, this is going to be our planning tool for the future to determine where trips are coming from when we load X amount of data into a new parcel. So we went through that process as all TIAs go through, and it was determined that the percent split was about 68% from the east and the rest from the west.
Well, okay, so that just says there's some assumptions made and that's how it came out, right?
Sure, it is a planning tool, you're correct, and we do the best
Okay.
we can with planning.
And the IT 9th edition, when was that updated?
That was last year.
Yeah, so I have the 7th edition on my shelf, but the 9th edition. So these numbers and these formulas are updated. It's not, 1960s, 1980s material, but still.
Do you ever in your business, and going about traffic analysis, do discrete event simulations where you actually put the entities in and the delay times and all of that and see how it works and look at the actual stacking that goes on? Do you ever do that?
Absolutely. You know, that's part of what I love about my job. Every transportation analysis is a little bit different. Everybody's concerns are a little bit different. Every requirement of every municipality it's all different every time I do one of these. But what we do when we go into a municipality is we have to abide by their land development code and their transportation methodology.
If requested, though, you could do a discrete event simulation.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
would give us a lot more granularity as to what actually is going to happen with the stacking, rather than this concatenation of assumptions and factors and averages and everything else that you throw together for this methodology, correct?
Sure, but keep in mind that all those assumptions that we're quote-unquote calling assumptions, there's a lot of data behind those assumptions from past generation reports from other projects. You know, just for the trip generation for this school, I don't know how many dozens of schools have had a counter put in front of it, and cars drive over the tube and they determine the ins and outs. And then they do a fitted curve based on all of that data, and that's what we use for this analysis.
Okay, now when you do a discrete event simulation, in those cases where you do, how do the results compare to the methodology where you're just using all these factors and assumptions and databases?
You know, by what you're referring to, it is a simulation. It is a group of people that get together and determine what the appropriate assumptions are. What we do more traditionally in Florida is we take into account what past things have shown us. We use actual empirical data, and we use adopted planning tools that many engineers and planners have come to agreement that this is the tool that we're going to use for the region, and that's what we've done so here, as it is required in the methodology set forth in the city.
So that's applied to every school and everything that's ever built, is that right?
Well, like I said before, because this is a school, we actually did more analysis than usual. Typically, all the city requires is a PM peak analysis. And because this is a school, and obviously there's some concerns about what goes on in the AM with traffic, because that is the peak hour generator for this. As Chip explained, there's you know, a before care and an after care, but traditionally that AM peak is the highest hour of operation. So that's what we did here in addition to that PM peak that's required.
All right. Any other questions?
Just one for the
Sure.
engineer. Back to the question about U-turns. How many schools have you supported with this type of design where you relying on parents drop off, but with the right in, right out, end up relying on U-turns to get back to where they came from? Is that typical?
You know, every school is a little bit different because every roadway network and every, you know, it's a new set of problems every time you do one of these, and you gotta do the best you can to solve the problem to get the traffic working, and I think we've done that here. Like I said, we've showed that there's no stacking that's going to spill over into the site based on those assumptions that we've used at many other schools, and Mr. Rumer alluded to the fact that the U-turns at the Fountains West isn't really going to work because there's not enough distance, and there's a concern that some of that queue is going to spill over. So we really had to keep on moving them to the west so that they could do a safer U-turn at the signal. And the benefit of doing it there is today that intersection operates without about 28 seconds per vehicle delay, and we're adding about 5 seconds to that with this school. As a bar to measure to for that LOSF I discussed earlier, for a signalized intersection, it's about 55 seconds. So we're very far away from that, even with these school trips. Getting close to any situation where anybody's going to, you know, kind of scratch their head in that intersection and think to themselves, I'm waiting way too long here.
Did you factor in the traffic from the high school going through that same intersection?
Absolutely.
At the same time of day?
Yes. So what we did, we go out and we count a solid 2-hour window. And in this case, it was from 7 to 9 because that's traditionally, the AM falls somewhere in there. What we saw with the data, I guess that high school is actually opening up even before 7,
Yes, it
you
does.
could see some of the traffic trickling in still from 7 to 7:15. But the point of doing that 2-hour block is we take the biggest background hour of that block, the consecutive 4 consecutive 15 minutes. That's what we assume for background, so that's the worst case.
Thinking back to that right in and right out, and that left turn lane towards Ocoee and Popka Highway, those parents that are dropping off their kids and wanting to get on the 429, they're going to be going over making a U-turn. You don't think that's going to cause a issue there?
Again, the westbound traffic is so light in the morning, no, it's not going to be an issue for.
Yeah, but this
for the-
school and those apartments is both going to create more traffic.
Well, the apartment, and that's getting back to Mr. Rumor's point about the reason that this intersection really wasn't the ideal location to put all those school trips. These turns from the apartments aren't going to have to wait that long for this light traffic here. So by putting these rights, every time you want to reduce delay, you put in a right, if at all possible, because lefts create delay. So in this case from the school, you have a right turn there, you have a right turn there, you take them down. This is the one place of delay, but we have a signal so we can make a safe U-turn here. The apartments are kind of a separate issue because all of these through trips aren't adding that much delay to what's going on here. If we put all those lefts at that one location, that was the problem that Mr. Rumor was alluding to. We don't want that.
All right. I have a couple concerns I'd like to ask you about. Right now, I guess, Mike, I can't remember, but is there, if you're going west on West Road at the Fountain interchange, can you make a U-turn there presently? Is there a,
Yes, you can.
all right, will that be left that way, or will there be a no U-turn?
If the extension of the left turn lane is, goes forward, approved by the county, the recommendation is to put a no U-turn at that
But not
location.
until, but not until that.
There is not
condition-
presently a sign there, but if, one of the recommendations is
But we-
requirement to be to place a no U-turn at this intersection right here.
Yeah, but we know people will do it.
Yeah, darn right they will.
We know they'll do it. And what kind of impacts will that have on your traffic study? If people, let's say,
I mean,
200
you don't build in a factor of people breaking the law, increase speeds in a traffic.
well, there's no sign, so it's not breaking the law.
But you're asking for an analytical answer to that, so I'm just saying it's not, there's nothing we
You
can
said
point
there's no
to.
sign, they're not gonna put a sign until you do that extension, so when this school could be operating, that intersection would be subject to a left, U-turn.
Right, yes, so the requirement would be to place a sign that says no U-turns.
So,
Okay.
but you can't place it, it's the county road, right?
If the county agrees to this, they purchase a sign and they place it, yes.
If they agree to what,
Yes.
this proposal?
Yes, so think of it like this. A PUD is looking at the entrance locations. So all of that, even though you can, at the PUD level, you can plan for a lot of things, it's not until you get to the engineering that you find out if it works. So we recognize in the PUD, in this process, we go a little bit further to kind of some assurances. The fact that it is Orange County controlled road, we don't know if A, B, or C is going to be approved. So what happens is as long as the entrance doesn't change, so if in the PUD, when we come back to final site plan, they have to do an entrance and modify, and it changes the site, that would require also amending the PUD to change the site plan. So at this level of review, there's a lot of factors you don't know.
Okay.
Under the sense of a PUD bubble plan, we request that they show information, and we go a little bit further under a PUD. So
All right, if we hypothetically kind of approve to recommend this to the commission and it goes forward, can we, at this point, put conditions on our motions?
certainly, yeah, the attorney can advise as to what level, but you can.
And set thresholds and things that trigger
Yes, so you're making a recommendation to the city commission
Right.
of, but yeah, you can add conditions to your recommendation.
Okay. All right. Any further questions from any comments, discussions?
I'll reserve my comments for later.
Comments for later? Okay, as we still have the public hearing open,
I'd like to add also that, you know, safety is our concern for our children and for the people in the area. So
By all means.
if we have a situation where at full enrollment that we have a traffic issue, then we'll definitely put off-duty police officers there to control traffic and to monitor that the people aren't making U-turns where there's a no U-turn sign.
okay. Yeah, we have the condition where this is a non-city controlled road and intersection.
And we're in conversations, in fact, our traffic engineers have been talking to the
Mike?
county people all along about all this. And they're, you know, we're almost to a point where they've agreed with it as well, and with a few conditions. One was to possibly put a no U-turn sign there. We've agreed to that. If we need to open up that other lane, they've agreed to that. So there's some things that we've
Okay.
agreed to that aren't really gonna, they're not gonna affect whether we build it or don't build it. It's just a matter of what our cost is gonna be to implement what the county wants us to do.
It's amazing that they would agree to all of those things, and they won't do anything about the mess that we have turning into McDonald's and Walgreens. So, you know, I wouldn't put much stock in their promises, quite frankly.
Okay, aside from that, did you have something you wanted to add, Ben?
Absolutely.
Your
Good
name?
evening. I'm Allison Turnbull with Holland and Knight, 200 South Orange Avenue in Orlando. I was involved in the original approvals of this PB, and actually, Mike and I were laughing earlier because the use that was always contemplated for this parcel was a charter school. But there were some concerns raised by the public that we weren't really taking into account all of the potential impacts in case a retail use was put here. So we ended up entitling this for a commercial use, which obviously has much higher impacts than what's being proposed today. So, you know, we did think about all of that when we set the original access points, the original traffic movements, all of that was contemplated in our original traffic study. And, you know, this will come back to you, as Mike said, for a final site plan where we'll have all of the final engineering, all of, you know, everything resolved with Orange County on the roads. So really, this is just to allow the charter school as a use in addition, you know, or instead of the commercial as we originally entitled it. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, so actually, we're looking to substantial amendment to the original motion that we recommended to the commission previously, at that date, whatever it was, I don't remember.
Not that long ago. A year ago, maybe.
Any other comments, questions of the applicant and his people? Hearing none, any more questions or from the public hearing? Yes, we're open to the public, yes, but we've got some coming up already, so.
You can go stand in line.
Please fill out one of these forms before you leave the room. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Aleda Verdasco, and I'm an Ocoee resident, 1711 Sparkling Water Circle. First, I want to thank you all. This is my second time standing in front of you guys, and unfortunately, it's for the same topic. And you guys did wonderful looking out for the residents of Ocoee last time, and here I am again asking for you to do it one more time. First, I want to also say, you know, Mr. West, thank you very much for omitting yourself from this vote, because I heard there's a little conflict of interest there. And Mr. Roomer, I know that you have a lot of work cut out for you. Sometimes I do have to wonder who exactly you're siding with, because you know the background, and I was in the meeting last night, and so were you. And there's some things that kind of puzzled me. Number one, as far as the traffic, they're saying that there's not going to create an issue still yet. Their study is from 7 to 9. The high school, actually, you can contemplate between 6:45 to 7:15 is when these kids have to, 7:15 is when the kids have to be in the classroom. So if they study from 7 to 9, they actually got the low peak of the high school. Still yet their school is going to be opening about 6:30. So they're going to be open at the same time this high school traffic is going to be coming in. Still yet the study doesn't show that. So I wonder about that. As far as the U-turn, thank you for pointing out that If there's nothing to stop people, yes, they are gonna be doing that, not to count the safety issue. I know that right now on State Road 50, they're expanding to 3 lanes, and unfortunately, they're gonna be putting a solid median down on the road just before McGuire. And the reason why they're gonna have to make a U-turn to get into that construction, into all of that commercial is because of the safety but they're adding that 3rd lane. Here, I only see 2 lanes. So I see people having to be a little bit more cautious with making those U-turns, which is still gonna create a backlog as far as traffic is concerned. Even going into the school, as they're saying the stacking, I'm a single parent. And I see this fast time, and that's wonderful, but they're talking about 30 minutes. How long is it really gonna take for me before I go to work? How early do I have to show up to drop off my child? And how long is it gonna take before I can actually leave there? If it's gonna take me 30 minutes to go drop off my child and get out, I'm late for work, or my daughter's gonna have to pretty much wake up at school because of how early I'm gonna have to show up. Now, I know that I guess the traffic analyzer said that he did a simple analysis, was what I heard the first time around. So I don't know if this is simple. To me, it's sounding a lot more complicated than what he calls simple originally. But also the fact that this was originally zoned light industrial, then it was changed to commercial. Right now, we all know that the city of Ocoee right now needs commercial, not only for the tax benefits, but because with everything that's being developed, we need somewhere to go within our city. And right now, these charter schools are taking it up, which is now going to restrict what type of commercial is going to be able to be allowed in that public shopping center, which is what happened over in Winn-Dixie with the kids' college. Once that charter school went in, now we've got all these empty spots because we can't put a restaurant there because of certain restrictions that's going to come with it. So now they're going to also impede what type of commercial is going to be allowed in that shopping center if anybody does leave. And now I know that they mentioned it's not for profit still yet. I was able to read off of the newspapers that last year this company reported $400 million profit. Still yet, because the school, the city, not only loses the commercial tax benefits, but we're not getting anything from a nonprofit. So I'm concerned about that. I'm not sure if maybe you guys can answer to me. I know that everybody wants to convert these commercial to whether it's school or residential, high density, but how easy is it to convert something that's not commercial into commercial? To my understanding, it's very difficult. If we continue to convert our commercial into something, another use, what commercial are we going to be left with? Right now, at least on this part of town, it's very limited. All the commercial is over on the south side of Ocoee, I believe it is, and me personally, I don't like to have to drive that far in order to enjoy a meal, have a cup of coffee, or whatever the case may be, or have to go and buy something. And right now, that's pretty much what is happening. I'm slowly being squeezed where if I have to go and do anything, I've got to go all the way on the other side of town. And I personally, as a resident, I didn't move to Ocoee to have to travel. I came from Claremont because of that, because I had to travel so far to get commercial. I appreciate Ocoee because I can go to the corner and I can have a cup of coffee or whatever the case may be, but little by little, I'm losing those opportunities. Now, in last night's meeting, when I asked why do they want to continue to insist on the city of Ocoee, they're saying there's no viable property that's available. Well, I went in and I offered them an opportunity or a solution. Acclaim Academy shut down. You've got 17.85 acres for that property, 177,000 square feet under air, and it's already been developed, or at least it's been remodeled into a charter school. Why do we want to go on ahead and give up our commercial when there's a location right there waiting to be moved in? They're saying that it's not viable. Yes, it is. I did the extra research. I gave them an answer. They didn't like that. You know, maybe it's because, and they claimed, and you saw the numbers that they pointed out as far as the schools. I asked questions on that too, because I noticed, wait a second, those schools aren't in Ocoee. So then why are you bringing that into the mix? I said, why don't you go ahead and deduct those schools and now tell me where our students lie? They couldn't answer that question for me. Although I was told, along with another resident, that because our children were not between the ages of K and 8, we had no say-so in the matter anyway, which I really resented, because when I speak, I don't speak for my child, I speak for the children of Ocoee. And I see them all as my children. My background is construction and education. So I really resented that comment, but regardless. As far as what they will be able to bring towards Ocoee on education in our children, 1,145. Based off of their numbers, though, that's about 94 children per grade. Orange County's public school system was there last night, and they did verify that if we allow them to build that school, it will deter them from building a school. I prefer for Orange County, I've got it recorded. I prefer for Orange County to go on ahead and finish with their plans on building a school versus a charter school that unfortunately will be limited. 94 children, and they even confirmed it last night. It's just a dent in what we would be needing. So I do ask, I know that they also mentioned wonderful grades as far as their schools, which I also pointed out last night that that's not the case either. I did some research. They tried telling me that it was incorrect. My source of information is Orange County, the public school system website, where I did find that that they do have schools that are D's and F's, including the Duval, by the way, that they were so proud of. They kept telling me that my information was incorrect. I pulled from public records. If you just do a simple research on their company, you'll find newspaper articles. Now, if they try and tell me that that's not a valid resource, then and the court system isn't a valid resource, then I'm not quite sure what they consider to be valid. But I do say that the information that they provided last night and what they reiterated today is not factual. At least it's not to the city of Ocoee. They extended further. They went out into other areas that won't necessarily depict what the true numbers of Ocoee is. So I do ask that you guys please reconsider. We need more commercial than we need charter schools. Currently, we do have current charter schools that have seats available for any overages that we may have. We do have Orange County that right now is waiting for our decision to decide what they're gonna do. Will they be doing it tomorrow? Possibly not. But the whole fact remains is that we don't need a school tomorrow. We need them down the road, and we need something that's gonna last. So I would prefer, and so far all of the residents, and Mr. Rumor also knows because he was there yesterday and he heard the residents speak out, residents would prefer Orange County and for the Ocoee schools versus the charter school to come on in and take up another viable tax-generating piece of property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who do we have next? Kathy?
Good evening. My name is Joseph Kopilovich, and I'm here on behalf of my sister Malka Isaac from Lutz, Florida, who couldn't be in this meeting since she has a very sick son. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, bye.
I am very disappointed that the city had accepted the study by the engineering by the engineering firm. I would have assumed that the city would do the study, and the developer will pay the city for the study, because this study is a statistical model, and a statistical model is as good as the assumptions that the model is built upon. I don't trust the company the engineering firm that was hired by the company that has the interest. Number one. Number two, they are talking about 5,000 trips a day as opposed to 15,000. This is very deceiving. It doesn't matter how many cars during the day. It all matters how many trips during that hour, 2 hours of the school, not during the day. Number three, 269 trips today. Earlier, when you were talking about the annexations, I heard that you guys were talking about the flood for 100 years plan. What about 5 years from now, about the traffic west on West Road? I did not hear anything about that. So, I think that there is a big flaw in that study. Another thing, the city is going to lose revenue, the tax revenue. We as a property owners, this is gonna limit us for the use, what kind of uses can be done on our property. For instance, we would not be able to put a liquor store if we want to, or a bar. And the traffic, you know, I just don't trust, because in Tampa it happened that they wanted to build, the mayor wanted to build an aquarium. So since the mayor wanted, the developer brought KPMG, you know, the accounting firm, and said, oh yeah, that will be profitable from day one. Guess what? So we are asking you guys to reject it until at least, you know, we know about the traffic situation, what it is. If it really stand up to what all those rosy plans are. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So I'll just show you that he represents this property, right, this little
Okay.
square one right
Yeah, we are the 5 acres east, just across the trail
Okay.
from the property.
All right, thanks again. Sir?
Good evening. Tim Alcuri, 2113 Ancient Oak Drive in Ocoee. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight and for all of you guys being here so late. I'll try to make it quick. First question I have is, Mr. Rumor, what's the total acreage that the school's going on?
10.6.
10.6. So my question to you is, last night, the school board official that was here stated that they do not put an elementary school on anything less than 15 acres of land. The developer challenged that and said the school board does build on less than 15 acres of land. But my question to you is this: do we have to stoop to the level of the school board? If the Orange County Public School System is going to put something on 15 acres of land and they're going to go below what they recommend, do we have to follow? So they got an elementary school, 15 acres of land. Middle school's 25 acres. They want to combine an elementary and a middle, K through 8, on 10.6 acres of land. To me, the math doesn't add up. Secondly, the numbers that were shown last night were 2011, 2012, showing the school ratings. Is there an overhead? Yes. This is the 2014 school ratings for the Hunters Creek. This is for the Renaissance Charter School.
What are we seeing here? I can't quite read it, so.
So we can get it clear up here. Okay. So basically what you're looking at is the graph on the bottom on your left-hand side. That is the overall math score by the charter school. If you look at the darker line, it's kind of up a little bit. It's red in color. That is the state average for the school systems in Florida. If you look at the overall reading, granted they're slightly above that. Then let's look at the science, the third column, well below the average for the state. And then if you look at the school average, the last column, still below the state average. The next one is going to be for the Chickasaw Trail. As you can tell, they don't meet the state level on any level. So the question I have for you is, we're not opposed to charter schools going in that's going to benefit our children and helping the development of our education system. But approving a school that is going to, of this size, on such a small acreage of land that can't even produce state level certifications in 2014 seems to be more of a challenge that they haven't resolved yet. So what I'm asking of you gentlemen tonight is to really take this into consideration in allowing a charter school to combine what would be equivalent of 40 acres of land in the public school system down to 10.6, but yet they can't even meet the state requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, we got a couple. Let's try to keep these like 3 minutes, please. No longer than.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Carol McGowan. I'm with Orange County Public Schools. Address is 445 West Amelia, Orlando, Florida. Good evening, gentlemen. I am here on behalf of the school system, but as a longtime Ocoee resident, this breaks my heart. But anyway, I do have a couple of questions for Mr. Taylor. When you did your traffic study with the ITE, was it for public or private schools? Private, thank you, sir. And Mr. West, I did not understand one of your comments, if you could help me. You said something about property tax not being used to purchase the property. Did I understand that right, sir?
No, I just said
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't.
that the capacity that they would take up, that the school would do, in other words, school, if they didn't do it, school would have to come in there, although the school, from what I understand, they study it for about 2 years, and then they, it takes a long time to build it. And I'm saying that if y'all had to buy it to make up for the capacity that they would do, we wouldn't get any taxes for that.
Oh, but we already have the property
Yeah,
for a middle school.
Well,
and
the
we have an
problem,
elementary.
and, nothing to you, but I sold a piece of property for the elementary school in Ocoee.
Yes, sir.
Brand new. The old school was at capacity of 800.
Mhm.
Y'all built a new, and the capacity was 810.
Mhm.
Now, I don't get that. I don't understand that.
I
Yeah,
can
you,
explain it if you got
and
an
on
hour.
top of that, you had portables out there in less than a year.
Absolutely.
I don't understand that.
I can explain that, but I'm not sure that we have enough time for me to
Okay.
explain it. I'll be happy to
I
come
understand.
back and do
I'd
that.
love
but
to
I
hear
just-
that explanation
here-
myself, but we don't have time for that.
That's
so
what I
let's
was saying,
move
we
on.
don't have time for that. I would like to point out that with the data that was shown, you're really not that, you have some schools that have some excess, not excess, over capacity. You have some schools that are under capacity. If you put in a charter school, good, bad, or indifferent on the grade, okay, it does make it more difficult for the school system at that point to come out and build a school in a quicker manner, because our numbers are about sheer numbers of students. Your schools are at a point where it's in the radar. We're hoping that it grows a little more so we can build another school. But if we have students drawn off our numbers in the traditional sites, it's much harder to come out and build a traditional school. We are partners with the charter schools on many things, but remember, if they are a public entity, public school, their money comes from the same pot. It isn't a certain pot that says this is just for traditional schools and we're going to take that money from this property tax or that. It's all in the same money. They get an FTE amount, full-time equivalency, which is what we get from the state. The local citizens have voted in that half-cent sales tax and the mill, which is for the traditional schools on the whole. But there are many things that, school choice does for families if they're unhappy at some place. But remember that if you build this and approve it, as some of your other folks have said about the taking away from your commercial, it also means that getting another traditional school will probably be longer. Just wanted you to keep that in mind. And Ocoee has such a fine tradition of supporting the public schools. Most of us here who grew up in Ocoee are products of Ocoee schools when we really were overcrowded. Some of us can remember that. But it's a fine tradition, and it would be nice to continue the tradition of supporting our schools. And on that, have a nice evening, gentlemen, and good luck.
Thank you for your information.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Greco. I'm the president of Prairie Lake Reserve. I live at 1896 Compass Flower Way. I also have spoken on the same issue to you all before. First, I have a question. The comprehensive plan, it says light industrial with the 429 expansion. Why would we put so many of our citizens at risk with the traffic? If the county does not allow a change in the U-turn, we are put in such danger. For me, who has a high schooler myself, Ocoee High School buses start running at 6:07 a.m. down that road. My daughter gets picked up at 6:16. So the traffic, is gonna be a lot more. It's not gonna start at 7, it's gonna start more in the 6 o'clock range. Second of all, thank you very much for being interested in the traffic. That's very nice that you offer our police, but at whose tax dollar? That's, I'm assuming, gonna be on our tax dollar. They're not gonna pay for our police when, there's accidents and everything due to this. K through, as they said, they're building on 10.6. If Orange County currently owns land in Ocoee and have plans to build a middle and an elementary school, why are we even taking an option of taking tax dollars off the road? Let's compete with Winter Garden. We're going there. We're almost there, Ocoee. We're trying to get there. Why stop? Why get another charter school? Let's get some tax-generated dollars in here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that's it. Would you like to answer any of those questions that were posed?
Yeah, I'm sure the
applicants.
Certainly, just going back, Joseph was correct. The alcohol citing requirements are for bars and liquor stores, not restaurants. So if a restaurant wants to serve alcohol, they do not have to abide by the alcohol distancing requirement. Full bar, yeah, full restaurants that serve liquor and alcohol that are 51% sale of food are exempt from that
That's
requirement.
percentage, yeah.
So that was one that the restaurants will not be affected. But what he said was correct in the bar and liquor store.
What's the distance?
It's 1,000 feet from the front door of the establishment to the school property. The transportation engineer, they provide they pay our consultant we review it. I mean, we review it under our standards. So they are providing a transportation study, but we are reviewing it just as if we were running the study ourselves. It's a modeling process. So, but they do pay for our consultant to review it, so they're not getting off anything. Any relief
So
there.
let me clarify that. There's a study done by a third party, but the city and/or your
consultant
consultant
review that. Yes.
review it at their expense of the
Yes.
third party.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's it. There's no other issues to.
Why do they type from step one? Why the breakdown, Why do they do the engineering model and the city just refuses?
Okay, yeah, they do the model to our requirements.
Right.
So we submit them our methodology. They provide comments and say, yes, we can meet your methodology. So then when they submit the traffic study, we review it and make sure they're meeting our methodology and make sure it's correct and discuss issues with the study. So it becomes just as if we did it, but that's how the process goes.
I think this method assures a rather more unbiased from the standpoint of the city, because they did their own studies that tend to be, mothering their own little hens, and we know how that goes. Okay.
And they did do the private school trip generation number, so that's it.
Okay. I myself, I know the information shown about the quality of the education. I myself don't have that researched. I do not have the understanding, and I'm not sure if anybody else on this commission has the wherewithal to justify or not justify those numbers. So that's not really our purview. So we will leave it unless you guys know otherwise.
Well,
We're just concerned with the fact that it meets our land development codes and our requirements to satisfy the traffic situation. So
I disagree. I think it could be a factor in the decision, whether or not we think we have the
Of course,
knowledge.
it's a factor, but I don't have the knowledge. Do you have the knowledge? Does anybody else?
I've studied it quite a bit.
I mean, we have
We looked at
opinions.
some
We have
stuff last
opinions.
night that showed pretty good.
I've looked at some stuff independently that doesn't necessarily agree with it, but, you know, I think if the argument here is how good, you know, are charter schools a good thing or not, we're not gonna solve that issue here.
That's not our issue.
And the applicant would like to have a chance to respond to the questions.
Okay, I guess that we could do that.
Thank you. Just very briefly, again, Allison Turnbull with Holland and Knight. I would just note that the PD is already approved. There's 97,000 square feet of commercial that has already been approved upon this 10.8 acres. That commercial, it could be a Starbucks, it could be a Dunkin' Donuts that's open early in the morning, it could be a 24 hours a day CVS, it could be a high turnover restaurant. There's nothing that says that this could not be a development that would generate the 5161 total trips for the entire PD. And instead, with this charter school included, the entire development will only generate 34, 33 trips. So it is a much less intense use than what the PD is already entitled for. I'd also like to point out that the charter for this particular school has already been approved by Orange County Public Schools. Both the charter and their contract have already been approved by Orange County Public Schools.
But not the siting.
I'm sorry?
But they don't have anything to say about the siting, correct?
Well, they know the general location, and the contract includes the location. So they've seen this property, they've seen the school, they've already approved the charter.
Well, they,
So,
I'm sorry to be technical about this, but 2 months ago, the perfect place for this was at 80 Mims, and the charter was approved then. So which did the Orange County Public Schools say was a good site?
well, there's a distinction. There's a charter, and then there's a contract. And it's my understanding that the contract includes a specific location. And for this, the charter and the contract have already been approved. One other point I'd like to make about charter schools as opposed to traditional public schools is that if they fail in their mission, if they're deemed to not have executed the goals of the charter that was awarded, the charter can be taken away. A traditional public school can keep receiving an F year after year after year, and a charter, that's just not the case. So, you know, this is not an either-or situation. I know that that's what some members of the public and the woman who spoke from the school board would like for you to believe, but approving a charter school does not prohibit Orange County Public Schools from building and creating other traditional public schools within the city of Ocoee. I think, you know, in your staff report, 3 of the 4 schools that were listed are already over capacity. So you already have an issue with capacity, but capacity is not the only reason why a charter school is approved. It's a driving factor, certainly in this area of Orange County and the city, because the capacity has reached a situation where more is needed. But it's not the only reason why you would approve a charter school. So, you know, I just wanted to make those points. Again, I would agree with the comment that you made, Commissioner, that, you know, this is not a debate on the philosophical, you know, pros or cons of charter schools, but really it is more dealing with this PD and with the land use and with the compatibility. You know, I believe that we have done our best to answer all of your questions on traffic. You know, we do have a licensed, reputable traffic engineer who provided a traffic study in conformity with the city's traffic engineer's requests and with your city code. So, you know, we will come back before you for final site plan approval. You will have other opportunities to condition this as, you know, we get more input from Orange County and as we move through the process. So, you know, really I would just ask you to stay focused on kind of the macro 30,000-foot look on this with the use in general. So, thank you. And I think Chip might want to address some of the specifics about the schools.
Mr. Cordes?
You want to make a comment?
No.
Okay. We asked about the grades of schools, and yes, we did have Renaissance Charter School at Chickasaw, did have an F the first year they opened. You have to understand that in charter schools, we're taking children from the area. Again, it's parental choice. If any of the people who are opposed against charter schools, they can leave their children in a public school. But the parents have a choice if they want to go to a charter school, if they want to have a higher level of discipline in the children's out-of-home life, if they want their children to wear uniforms, if they want a more personalized education, then they have the option to send them to school, to a charter school. They're not locked into the districting of the school where they live. It's an option, okay? Chickasaw did have an F, and the reason being that we found that some of our schools do get an F or a D the first year. The idea is that a lot of these children are coming into the school, they're not used to the type of curriculum that we use. Now, we are graded, and we do the same, all the same testing, and all of our teachers have to have the same certification as a public school, because we are monitored by the school board, and we have to conduct all the same testing that they do and report all that testing to the state. So when you look at charter schools in the public school website, we're listed right along with the other traditional public schools. But the children have to get used to the different curriculum. They have to get used to the fact that they're being held accountable for homework and for participating in the classroom. The parents in our charter schools sign a contract that they're gonna donate 20 hours of volunteer time to the school. Now, it may not be the mom or the dad, it could be a grandparent or a brother or an aunt and uncle, but the idea is to get the parents involved in the children's education. Just don't drop them off in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon, and plan on dropping them off the next morning. We want the parents involved, and that's how we see the children grow within themselves, because they're getting more parental involvement in the charter school. And that's a contract that all parents sign when they apply to send their children to that school. In the Chickasaw instance, the second year they went to a B. The school that we built down in Point Siena and Kissimmee, the first year they were a D, the second year they went to an A. So yes, we do have some bad years, but typically it's only the first year until those children get more acclimated to the whole process of being in the charter school, wearing uniforms every day, changing classes without running around slamming lockers and yelling in the hallways. There's a lot of discipline changes in the school from a traditional school to a charter school. 8 out of 9 of our schools in Broward County are A's. The 9th one's a B. 3 out of 4 of our Dade schools are A's. All 4 schools in Osceola County now are A schools. All 4 of them. When Point Siena opened 3 years ago, they were a D. But the last 2 years, they've been an A. All 4 schools in all 2013 DNF schools are now A, B's, or C's. These are our education model and how it works. I'm more than happy to give you all this facts and figures. It shows the CSUSA average, it shows the Florida average. And then we have here how we score in reading against Florida, Orange, and that particular school. And yes, Chickasaw is still below the state average, but it still received a B grade because it's making improvements, and they see the improvement. Really what you get measured on is the improvement of the child from year to year. Maybe they're not an A student, but they went from an F to a C. That's impressive. That means that they are learning and they're on the right track. And a lot of that analysis goes into what the school grade is. Let me say, what are charter schools? And it says that charter schools are public schools that operate under a performance contract or a charter which frees them from many regulations created for traditional public schools while holding them accountable for academic and financial results. This is right from the Florida Department of Education. Now, I'm going to ask the lady that was here from the school board, how many students do you have in Orange County?
There's approximately 199,800.
Okay. And your budget this year is how much?
I don't have that number.
It's $1.8 million, or $1.8 billion. That equates to about $9,600 per student. But yet the charter schools only receive from the state $6,400 per student.
Not all that money comes from the state, so.
All of our money?
No, ours.
I know, some is federal and some is local, but we're exempt from the local money.
Yeah, but when you stay at night away, never mind, I'll be quiet, I'm sorry, sir.
All right, you're getting outside our purview here, so wrap this up if you would please, Mr. Coates.
I want to just show you, our demographics are very similar in percentages to traditional public schools. This is from the State Board of Education as well. As you can see down here at the bottom, it's from the Florida Department of Education.org, and it shows you that charter schools across the state of Florida, which is 230,000 students, the remainder of the state is 2.5 million students, but we have pretty much the same demographics. You're going to hear, well, their grades are better because they're scraping the cream off the top. We're really not. And here are the FCAT readings of traditional public schools versus charter schools. This is for reading levels. The blue is charter and the green is traditional. This is for mathematics, science, and gains 1 year up to the next. So charter schools do have a very good record in the system for providing children with an education that the parents have a choice about what they do. Again, if people in the community don't want to go to a charter school, that's their choice. But those who do want to go, it's free tuition.
All right, thank you, thank you. Okay, we've had questions about, no, please, we're
How
done.
are they
We're done
able
with
to
the public
answer?
hearing.
The public can't answer.
We're done with the hearing.
Well, we have something to say with what they just
Does it
responded to.
affect the traffic or the land use? If the question does not.
The land use?
Yes, exactly. If it affects the land use or the traffic, then we really don't need to hear anymore. We are not here to judge the value of the school. Anyone else have questions concerning the traffic pattern or the land use? This is a planning and zoning meeting, this is what we will stay focused on.
School days in Florida are not 120 days. Because
That's not relevant to our conversation.
because of the traffic. It's more than 180 because you have summer school, you might have summer camps.
I'm not sure where what applies. I will close the public hearing unless someone has questions of those matters right now. Okay, Mr. Rumor, you got anything else to add to that?
No,
I think we've
you
covered
closed
all
the public
traffic,
hearing, but-
we've covered all the land use questions. I believe we're set on that. Any questions from the board of the
I
staff
just have a
concerning those two
statement,
items?
just real quickly. It is apparent that there's a lot of feelings on both sides of the table here. My biggest concern is just making sure that whatever we're doing for this particular land use is the right thing. And I've heard a lot, but I'd like to have some more information, some solid information, which means either they come back and we have another bite at the apple and find out exactly, is this traffic plan the right thing or not? So that's where I'm at with this. I just feel that it's, to say yes or no is not really appropriate, but let's get more information and then maybe we can make a little bit more informed decision.
Well, let me say this about that. They're on a time schedule, and they will be back up here for preliminary and for final,
Right.
which will have the input. If you don't give them a go now, you basically kill the deal, because it's a time-sensitive thing. That they want the kids in there in August. And we had a town hall meeting with Commissioner Grogan last night. They had a vote for the people that lived in the district, and it was more for the charter school than it was against it.
All right, I remind you that we are just providing a recommendation to the commission. They will be the ultimate factor in deciding on this. But as I asked earlier, we are able to add conditions to any motion that we present here and vote on.
Yeah.
So-
I've got a statement.
Any more discussion? Sir?
Yeah, I'd like to make a statement. I've studied this quite a bit. Went to the town hall meeting last night. I've done a lot of research on it, spent some time talking to Mike about it. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm not going to vote for recommending this to be approved. For the following reasons. One is the tax base. Milt made a point that, if this school doesn't go in, then another school has to go in somewhere else, and that property will be taken out of the tax base. But there already is property identified that is owned by the public schools already. So that, I find that not a persuasive argument. The second one is the traffic. I don't find the traffic study credible. I'm sorry. I spent a lot of time looking at the traffic analysis. Mike gave it to me. I don't care for the methodology. I'm a scientist. I'm not an engineer. Engineers have been known to make mistakes. Verrazano Narrows Bridge, for one. If you go down Apopka Vineland Road, whenever the church school's letting out down there before you get to Sand Lake, you'll see what a mess it causes. any suggestion that 338 U-turns at that intersection in the span of 30 minutes isn't going to completely disrupt the traffic is just unfathomable to me. Now, when you look at the traffic, the speeded up traffic, bear in mind that 2 seconds of that replay is a minute. So if you see a car sitting in line for 10 seconds, that's 5 minutes. So it's not like zip, 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 and it looks like it. That's very deceiving to do that. And the real point is that to me, the traffic analysis is simply not credible. It has too many weak points as far as I'm concerned. The third point is the point that was brought up last night and was brought up by the representative school system today. If you want to make sure that the Orange County Public Schools doesn't build another public school out here, either an elementary or middle school, build this charter school. Okay, that'll just guarantee it. Yep, it will.
That's not true.
Okay, and then the fourth point is that the point was made that, hey, you know, if we don't do good, we fail, and we have to shut down. Well, guess what? If they shut down, the Orange County Public Schools cannot use that building. It doesn't meet their requirements. So you have to think about what you're stuck with. Mention was made of the limitations of nearby development in terms of distance to liquor stores and that sort of thing, which is a minor point, but it's still a point. Point was made that this, and I think it was finally clarified that the taxes come out of our pocket, whether it's from the state money or from local taxes or whatever. It's our money. And let's be clear, this is not about altruism. This company is not here because they're trying to alleviate our overage in schools. They're here to make money. They see a business opportunity. They're here to do that. Okay, they didn't wake up one morning and say, you know, we really need to go help Ocoee. They're here to make money. So I'm opposed to this for those reasons.
Well, they haven't made it any time that I remember that they're doing it just for the good of Ocoee. We know that they got to make money. I mean, it wouldn't be possible to even do it if they didn't make money. You see how poorly the public school system is run. They don't make any money. Maybe if we would let charter school run the public school, we would have a better system.
We all know how you feel about the public schools.
Yes, you better believe it. I have a letter here from Arbors, the apartment apartment complex. It said, we support the development of the proposed charter school on the commercial property on the east side of the Fountain West Public Shopping Center. We feel that K-8 school on this site will provide additional nearby educational opportunity for our residents as well as the residents of the area in general. And there again, the residents spoke last night, not you, but most of them spoke for the charter school. You're out of order. And you don't even live within 3 miles of the school. No,
please don't respond to it, please. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Gentlemen?
I just got a couple of concerns. One is the tax revenue, of course, but the other one is, on Milton's point, you got a letter that says they don't disagree with the school, but if they were to use that exit from West Road, the same one the apartments use, I imagine they would have a different opinion. But regardless, I'm okay with the school. I'm just very concerned about the U-turns. Never really in my, and I have an engineering background, and I believe the traffic study, I believe the numbers, but I never really relied on U-turns as a exit to anything. I'll support the project, but I want to get back into the site plan.
Well, I think that we could, when they bring it back, like on for the preliminary and the final, then we can address that even more thoroughly.
All right. As I said before, we're here to possibly send this on to the commission. We'll definitely send it on to the commission with our recommendation or not to recommend it.
Right.
So that's what we're here to concentrate on, the land use and the, the effects of traffic, et cetera, on the neighboring community. Just like all the rest of you, I've got deep concerns about the education of our children, even though I don't have any children in school, and it doesn't matter whether they're in day school or they're in college. I feel that the present system definitely needs some work. And I look at the charter schools as competition, which always makes things work better. But in some instances, that's always not the perfect solution. But I really like the school. I personally think it's kind of in the wrong location for what it can do. But as I say, I'm kind of focusing on, and I'm looking at it from the traffic point of view as well as the land use. Economically, it's probably a toss-up. Like he says, if it doesn't build here, it'll build somewhere else, and the same amount of land will be used up. So I guess we're looking for someone to make a motion. I expect there to be some conditions with it. If it's it depends on your recommendation, or depends on your motion as to what your recommendations would be. So anybody willing to come forward with a motion at this point?
I'll make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as the local planning authority, recommend against approving this siting of this charter school on this piece of land.
All right, I guess that doesn't require any conditions. Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Another motion, please.
I don't think I can make a motion.
No, I
Yeah.
don't think you can. Oh, by the way, Milton West has disqualified himself from this
Yes.
voting. He is allowed to discuss and converse with everyone about the issue, but not voting on it. So it's one of us that has to make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Committee request substantial amendment for the school use for, I'm not sure, and I'm trying to figure out what recommendations or conditions you guys want to put on this, in addition to just making a motion of substantial amendment of this PUD.
With your permission, I would add a condition to that another traffic study
Okay.
be kicked off
That's,
at a certain
and that would
threshold.
probably be,
At
that's
some
fine. So we would add another traffic study or have a study done in addition to what we already have at this point.
By another agency of some kind, just to get an independent view.
We could ask for a third party.
Just third party.
I guess the threshold would be set up at the next time we would see this, if possible, if it comes through.
Yeah, there's one other-
Is that feasible to have the threshold set up at the, if it does come through, commission comes back to us, would that be appropriate to put the threshold there for a traffic study at that point?
So you're saying that if it gets approved, comes back at the final site plan, you want to see another traffic study from, the third one, not from Luke Engineer?
Yeah, that seems to be the
Right.
consensus.
Okay. That certainly can happen. Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to recommend who we use so that there's, have this situation again?
No, we can't make that. We can't make that recommendation. So we take that motion with that
Take that motion.
condition? Do I hear a second?
Any other conditions?
Can you have
Just
the
wanna make
clerk
sure.
Oh, is there
read
other conditions?
No, I just wanted to make sure there weren't any other conditions.
Yes, sir.
So you're putting a condition that there be a third traffic study?
Traffic study.
Are you,
Okay.
Well,
Got it.
do you
and
accept
this-
that condition on your motion?
Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
no other limitations on the condition? I mean, so they do a traffic study, does it
You
matter
have
what
another
it says?
condition?
Does it matter what it says, or do we just want another traffic study?
No, it has to meet the guidelines of the city.
You're going to tell them what it's got to say.
Yeah.
You need to have-
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
no,
think you're
no,
gonna gain anything by
that's not the
doing
point.
that.
The point is,
Unless you instruct staff to hire their own and do their own traffic study, you're not gonna gain anything by doing that.
Well, I guess my point is that a traffic study would, depending on what certain numbers are calculated or come out to, there would, certain other traffic requirements would be then enforced, you know, maybe lanes change, maybe.
Well, but if your condition is that they do another traffic study, and that's the only condition, then it doesn't matter. I mean, they'll just come and say, there's the traffic study, you met the conditions. You've already said, okay, go ahead. They have the condition of doing a traffic study. So that's not much of a condition. I mean, it seems to me if you're gonna put that condition on it, there needs to be some other qualifier.
That's the qualifiers? Big
I
one
don't.
here then. Oh.
I mean, I've
Can I-
already told you what my
I
opinion is.
guess that the point is,
Excuse me, let me interject. The traffic study would meet the criteria that's set out by the city at this time. We can't put a different criteria on the traffic study. So if I understand the request correctly, you want them to go back, they'll utilize the same criteria that everyone uses for these LUPs, and they will then do the numbers again on the traffic study. Is that
And-
what?
and I presume depending on the results of those numbers, that would be certain thresholds would be crossed and certain requirements would then be, need to be done to complete the project. Is that correct?
Yes, so what comes out, what gets spit out of the study is a set of recommendations in order to overcome the issues. So, yes.
And we have requirements of certain levels of service, which is LOS in case no one's.
And in addition to that, we are also getting an engineering study, or civil engineering plans at that time.
The
When we
next
get the
step is full
next
civil
step.
engineered plans, yes.
So we can then really marry the two and say, hey, yeah, this really works or it doesn't? We can look at it from that
If it
standpoint.
indeed goes forward and the commission does approve it, it comes back for final.
Right.
Then we have a chance to fine tune that traffic study.
Or deny it at that point.
At the next step, the preliminary and final site plan, your review is strictly to land development code and to the PUD standards. So in the sense that your review is not it's a public hearing because of a land development code requirement based on the size of the structure. But it's not a public hearing or it's not a action based on use. So there's less criteria in the sense that for your decision, your recommendation, it's still, even that's a recommendation at that point.
Well, at this point, if we go ahead and say we approve this, if that's the vote, then our recommendation to the commission is go ahead and approve it. If our condition is there's another traffic study done, then it doesn't matter what that traffic study comes up with, because we've already approved it, and we've only put the condition that the study be done. So when it comes around again, you know, there, like Mike's trying to say, there's nothing we're gonna be able to do about it, whatever it says.
Well,
We've already approved it.
We have to rely on the system because we can't forecast how that traffic code is going to come out. But I'm saying if it's different, significantly different from what they've done now, it will tell the city what they need to do to make that
Right,
system work.
but it won't give you the opportunity to change your mind, that the project will already have been approved. You know, if it came out and said, by gosh, there was some fatal mistake, and, you know, this is gonna tie up traffic tremendously, we won't be able to go back and say, oops, well, no, we'd rather revoke the approval. We can't do that. Once we go through, no matter what the conditions are we put on it tonight, unless you have a pass-fail type of condition, then, you know, and the city commission adopts that, then once we say yes, then that's it. You're not gonna be able to take it back.
We don't have the final.
Is that right?
We don't have the final
What you're
say
approving
anyway.
this evening is a substantial amendment to the PUD, and this will allow this type, as Ms. Turnbull said, this will allow this type of use in that piece of property. If you're asking them to bring back another traffic study, it'll come back with the next steps. That will be included in the packet that's submitted for the next step of review.
But this would be a recommendation to the commission.
We're
Now,
just amending the PUD at this point to allow this use to be included in the package.
And we can recommend a traffic study. However, when it gets to the commission, if they like the traffic study, they can say,
That's right. They
we don't want a traffic study.
They can, of course, they can
Right.
always, absolutely.
So I don't even know why we make the recommendation, but anyway.
Can we delineate that, more details on that traffic study as to put in thresholds or values that would kick off a re-engineering? And there again, it all hinges on the commission, what they do with it, but
I can't, it's
I
been
think
through.
we're not
it's-
satisfied with the traffic thing that you presented, I guess that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's the.
We're looking away to, let us revisit that.
You're not satisfied with the option of using left turn, but there are other options that you would be suitable to.
Just want to leave
So-
the door open, or
so,
at least enough that
yes.
we can kick it open next time.
Now, the Development Review Committee met and they approved this traffic study. Do they meet again and analyze the new traffic study? Who supervises that study to make sure that it's done properly?
Well, the Development Review Committee will not review, the consultant is an extension of the Development Review Committee. The Development Review Committee is, Utilities Department is not going to review the traffic study. Fire is not going to review the traffic study, so it would be reviewed under the consultant from the city.
Yeah, the review committee is made up all the heads of all the various departments in the city.
Yes, yes.
And our consultant for traffic would be one of those people involved who could therefore explain and
Yes.
talk about those issues that they find.
Is it possible to make no recommendation to the city, to the commission?
Yes,
And
it
just
can move
express,
forward.
express a concern about the traffic?
Yeah, the item will still move forward. It will move forward with no
Right.
recommendation from the P and Z. You've done your public hearing, which is required. You've considered the matter, and if you make no recommendation, it would go forward with, just like as if it was denied. It still moves forward. It's just with the no recommendation.
Or
The
just a
committee
comment
was
about
unable.
the traffic? That's
But you do
another-
have a motion on the table, so you'll have
Yeah.
to dispose
Did
of it.
did we second that? Did we get that motion seconded? I don't remember. if we did.
No.
Okay, so that still needs,
So
still
you have
lacking a
pending
second.
motion.
So it's a pending, but if I have a second, I'll drop it.
You
Oh,
didn't
it'll be
withdraw
dropped
the
anyway.
motion.
No, there's no second motion to it, then
Well,
we just drop it
I haven't
anyway.
asked for a second.
Okay.
So I'm asking now. Is there a
Okay.
second to that motion with the condition for the traffic study?
We're looking pretty puny, guys.
Hearing none,
Hearing none?
We're
the
looking.
motion drops, so.
I'll make a
We've done
motion.
both ways, so which way are we gonna go?
I'm gonna make another motion if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
You
I'm
gotta
gonna,
kill this one first.
It's already dropped.
Died
No,
for
let-
lack of
no
a
second.
second.
I'll move approval with the condition that we're all gonna look at the traffic movement with the final site plan design.
That's nice. That's good.
So what is that?
I'm not concerned about the numbers so much, I'm worried about the movement, the direction of traffic. So that's my condition. We're gonna all look at that, including staff and everybody up here, and that's my motion.
It's obvious we're looking for a solution to a problem, so. We have this motion, which is basically conditional to looking at traffic movement.
Well, it's further review of
At
the
the-
site plan, but we're gonna do that anyway.
Yeah, I'm trying to make
It's
sure.
not really a condition, but.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
All right, we can look for a second as his motion was stated.
Okay, that dies too.
Not hearing a second, I guess that motion
Well,
dies too.
You can second, Ron. You can second.
I can, but I was trying to avoid doing that.
We're just sending it to the commission for what they wanna do. That's gonna be the whole thing. It's what the commission wants to do.
Can we,
I'll make a motion that we, well, we have a motion on the table, I can't make another motion.
That's true.
oh, we didn't get a second to that either, so we've got three motions,
It
and
died.
three died. So you're welcome to make a,
I make a motion that we send this forward to the commission without a recommendation, and express our concern about the traffic study, and in particular, the traffic plan, that we weren't comfortable enough with it to make a positive recommendation.
Okay.
All right. Can I hear a second for that?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second to that motion. So this means we're moving ahead without a recommendation, yea or nay, but with expressing deep concerns about the traffic patterns and proposed, and the traffic study, I guess, right? Okay.
What was the motion again?
To send it forward to the commission without a recommendation, but to express our concern about the traffic movements, plan, and the study itself.
We got a second.
Second.
And we have a second. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say nay.
No.
I think we have one dissenting vote, I think I heard. You got that?
The ayes are
And,
moving
and
it.
Mr. West abstained on that. No vote.
Oh, yes, and Member West is, yeah, yeah, I know it is. What do I do if I full
What, Mike, have you got something you're gonna present to us?
Yeah,
As late as it is, we can't hear it next time.
It's a tough
yeah, we probably
It's
could.
kind of,
I'm not.
Yeah, I asked, but I thought.
can we do it next,
Yeah.
next?
The
right. Thank you.
What do we need to do?
All right.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Are we gonna adjourn? Sure. Yeah, I gotta get back to the dogs.
We're going to forego the item A. We're going to forego the item A of the next miscellaneous. We're going to do project status report and February calendar.
Table that till next week.
The 429 May master plan discussion will be held to next month,
Okay.
table to next month.
It's just a matter of perspective.
Our meeting is still going on. Could you please be quiet out there? Thank you. Trying to yell at him like this, I have to.
So you need a motion to adjourn? Is that what you need?
No, we're just going to quickly review the last two items.
Oh, okay.
If you got anything significant you want to tell us about the projects or the calendar.
Be on the lookout. You are on the, of course, the invite list for our, when we have the kickoff meeting for the downtown study.
Okay, great.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is that it? Anything else? Okay.
A second?
Thank you all for your
Need a second, but I did.
due diligence.
We agree.
Thank you. Just try not to get beat up on the way out the door.
Keep one chamber.
They'll be waiting for us in the parking lot.
Keep one chamber. So we're going to vote for it, right? Nothing we can do. I'm not happy.
We have two commissioners that might beat us up.
Yeah.
Good.
Probably. Thanks.
Yeah.
Nobody was comfortable with all that.
Nobody was, yeah. So you see the commission meeting and playing it out there?
I was just trying to get something to move towards the commission. I know the commission,
But the mayor was here and the room was all involved in, so they can do it. I didn't make my opinion ahead of time.